Who's my favorite playstyle in the game? I mean, for pure damage, Maelle. I mean, they're all good. Even Verso has finally won me over. I'm really trying to think. I don't think there's anyone who... Hang on, let me just heal up. There we go. That way. There we go. Like, everyone is important. Even Sciel, who does no damage under any circumstances, and her whole job is to just buff and give other people her turn. So, Sacro, thank you for the prime. Let's see what else we have. There's got to be a move I haven't seen. Evec Spear. Let's see that one. What else do we have? Troubadour Trumpet. No, we've seen all... I'm pretty sure we've seen all the others. Might be one I've missed. I think that's it. I think that's everything, guys. Fuck. Okay, so where is Frozen Hearts? Is that Isn't that the same place where I got like the Clive outfit? The flaming outfit? Minoko's Frozen Station area. Okay. East of the station, okay. Jotunstein! Thank you for the follow. Yeah, so I'm not 100%ing it, but I do want to see all of Minoko's moves, and you know what? Fuck it. Let's see this area. We may as well see what this game has to offer. East. This? No. No, not this at all. If there's a parry challenge, I'll be very happy. How many hours do I have in this game, Morigane? How do I see? I know it's over 100.
Here we go.
It's near its peak. This is Frozen Heart, isn't it? I'm pretty sure this is. Yep, alright. We're in, boys. I thought I did everything here. Right. So, where's the parry challenge? Is it near the beginning, or do I have to go in for a bit? Load a save. Oh yeah, loading. Oh, it's alright. We'll see it in a bit. Easy to miss. Hey, look, it's Final Fantasy VII. That is still a great little Easter egg throwback there. That's very clever. I like that. Right. Drop down, do not climb. Got it. Whee! Drop to where the dancers are. Nah, well, yeah, we'll get rid of you, Verso. Put Lune in. No, I'm not interested. Go away. Go away. Here? Is that... Am I on the right path? Sorry, I know there's like a stream delay, but... Yeah. I need you to guide me, chat. I don't know where to go. I don't know where to go, mate. No, go away. No. No. Rolling around at the speed of sound. All right, get me out of here. Up here? You can't tell me to come here and do the thing and then not know where the thing is. This way, I guess. This way? It's still confusing you, Moonbeam? This way. Okay. You lied. You lied to me, chat. You tell me it is here, and it wasn't. Be fucking shame yourselves. Do the roar? Roar! No, can't drop down there. Maybe up here? You need to take the railroad at one point. Where? As in get a train? Because you can get a train, or on the way you can't here. Or just run along the railroad. This way? Use the broken rails as a path. Got it. Got it, got it. God, this area is beautiful. I don't mind coming back to some of these areas, though. Like, they are really nice. In fact, I might record myself RP walking around here. Because I like my editor adding those to the vertical shorts. You know, if the short is just me on nothing interesting going on, it's fun to add stuff like that there. So, let the broken rails be your guide. I will. I will. Am I well off the beaten path? Let the force guide you. That doesn't tell me anything at all. Go left. Alright. Go right. Look, chat. Have a look at this. Do you see how difficult it is to get directions as a streamer? Go left. Go right. Go up. Streaming is the hardest job in the world when you have to deal with things like this. Oh, man. Alright, enough fucking a bit. It's the delay, and everyone's got like different connective issues. Yeah, that's how it is. That's how it is. So, just follow the rails. Yeah, right. I see. Have I never been up here before? Because if I haven't, that's really embarrassing. Wow.
Perfect.
What else have I missed in this game? God, that's embarrassing. I've never seen this in my entire life. Friends? Oh, hello, humans! Would you care for a dance? Yes. We are rejoiced to know that humans care for our way of expression and battle. Do you want to just fight? Is that it? A fight? Oh gosh, no, clearly you don't see. I'm inviting you to the most intimate and elegant of dances. How is dancing during a battle going to help us survive? You have much to learn. Allow me to demonstrate. Dance with me. Parry to the rhythm of my strikes. Then you might witness true bliss. Okay, I'm ready. Oh gosh. Let us dance in a sea of fire and ice. Okay. First try, baby! At the same time. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was intense. I was locked in. Oh my god. That was great. That was really fun. Alright, let's... I feel like that's a clip right there, isn't it? We'll call it... Dancer First Try. Oh my god. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, if I can parry Simon's stupidly long combo, I can do the rest. Okay. Did you just first try that, Eben? Yes. Alright. What do we get? Your dance was enthralling. It seems there's nothing more I can teach you. If you use this, perhaps you will attain new heights. Heights of which we can only dream! That was awesome. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Nah, Eben, you're all good. You're all good. Oh, wow. Okay, that's really good. And for that, you're gonna need this hair. Oh, that is absolutely fabulous. That's amazing. That's very different from any other outfit we have for her in the entire game. Holy shit. It's like it's almost not even clothes at this point. It's just like a Mystique X-Men skin suit. Holy shit. Changes color as well. So I'm assuming it's taking on the colors of... Is it taking on the colors of the areas around us? If it is, that's very cool. That's very cool. Thank you for the clip, guys. Appreciate that. God damn. Respectfully. You know what? Let's keep her like that for a bit. Alright. Now let's do it with, this lady. Oh my god. These few follow me, but to little profit. Why do you say that? They hope to learn from me, but our kind have traveled as far as we can go. Whereas humans, gestrels, you may climb the tallest mountains if you so wish. With enough effort, everyone can achieve the same. Everyone! I do not believe you. Now go on, fuck off. Oh gosh! Milky Note! Thank you so much for that raid. Guys, chat Milky Note a wee follow here! I know her from way back in the JRPG Final Fantasy days. I remember when you were streaming Metaphor. By the way, Milky, Metaphor, worth playing, worth streaming, or no? I saw you fighting a boss that was absolutely horrific. Also, Raiders, welcome in. I'm Sebi Webbs, and I've just gotten a fabulous outfit for Lune. So, I can do this with Sciel, right? Oh, you buy Sciels from a vendor. Care for a final dance? Wait, this will kill her, won't it? I don't know if I want to kill her. First try, no less. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Wait, I got Sciel's a while ago? Whoops. Worth playing, but compared to this, it's meh. I think a thing that's... This game has made a very glaring issue... How would I say this? This game has highlighted a glaring issue in JRPGs, specifically modern ones, which is dialogue bloat, dialogue inefficiency. You know, people are telling me that, like, I call out, you know, FF14, 16, and Rebirth's appalling pacing a lot of the times, but a lot of people are saying that, like, actually that's kind of normal these days. That's normal in Persona as well, that's normal in Metaphor as well. Everyone takes 40 chat boxes to say what could have been said in 5, or they just say stuff they've already said again and 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 again. So, I mean, when people say like, oh, yeah, it's bad in 16, but, you know, that's normal. That shouldn't be an excuse, man. That means that this problem needs to be fixed, or it needs to be addressed across the entire JRPG landscape. Because life's too short to spend reading boring, bloated, ponderous, repetitive dialogue. It's just too short. I'm sorry. It kills all replay value, and, you know, we ain't getting any younger, okay? I'm working here. Alan, thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. And Rex Dragoni, thank you for the sub. Also, Hoxton Noken! Thank you for the follow. I fucking love Fist of the North Star. That is my favorite that's one of my favorite things ever. So. Yeah, but you guys are saying that, like, JRPG bloat is across the board? Because I've heard it's like that for Octopath. Is it like that for Bravely Default? Is it like that for Dragon Quest? Do those have, like, bloated dialogue too? Cordila, welcome in. Hey, appreciate that. Thank you for enjoying the Instagrams. So it's like that in Bravely Default and Dragon Quest 2. And I've also heard it's like that in Octopath. That's a serious issue. That's not good. You know. And, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's always been that way or if it's like that across the board. It sucks, man. Like, just have some respect for your time. Or, you know, it would be nice if, if the devs writing could respect the player's time a bit more. You know, it doesn't have to be that way. So, some are way worse than others? Okay, yeah, I mean, you know. Well, that will always be the case. But, I don't know. Not fucking about. Not fucking about. Lost Odyssey is like that too? Oh, no. Leaning too hard into the novel part of the visual novel. Yeah, I mean, well, the thing is, visual novels are fine. Like, if you're playing Dream Daddy Date Simulator or Doki Doki Literature Club, that's all they do. They have no gameplay other than the words. So there should be, like, plenty of it, as long as it's always, you know, engaging and entertaining. So, but Leonard, thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. I don't like random exposition monologues. No, I don't. I don't want to kill her. I don't want to kill you. Oh, a shame. You got a bloody death wish, woman. Fuck. Get me out of here. So I already have Sciels, you're saying? I do. I should pay attention to these things a bit more. But we're not going to use that. Also, while that's fabulous, it's a bit distracting. No. Get your old stuff back. Nothing will beat the default. Nothing is going to beat that. Well, I'm pretty much done here, guys. I think I'm pretty much done here. Best outfits in the game? Yeah, you know, look. I like my stuff. Simple and clean. Simple and clean. I probably have to stop singing that or else I have to mute this VOD. Thanks for that, by the way, Square. You know what? I know Sonic does this as well, but it's a bit ridiculous that, like, music from Squaresoft games, like, Final Fantasy games, whatever, they're like 25 years old, and you'll still have to mute them from your VODs, otherwise the entire thing is demonetized. It's like, guys, look, do you want people to stream your games? You're punishing them for streaming your games, guys. You know, you're punishing the content creators. Why should anyone stream your games if you're just gonna demonetize their videos for it? For soundtracks that are like 25 years old. Like, guys, come on. Come on. Nintendo does this as well? Okay. I only know Square, and I know that I had to mute a section of one of my VODs because of a Sonic remix that was playing in the background while I was talking. Stupid. That whole thing. That whole 2 minutes has to be removed because of that. It's like, oh, fuck. Well, you can be removed from my playlist, mate. You just get out. Anyway, thank you for those follows, you Yevon. And, Lavi Kamibella. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. I've killed everything there, so. If you play the FF Pixel collection, it depends on the songs. Like, I had to remove the whole Sephiroth One Wing Angel thing from my Simon VOD. Eris's song will usually, I think, that's either copyright sharing. I forget what's demonetized. I don't know. Yeah. It's ridiculous, man. I think, like, look, maybe they should have some technology where if the music is coming from the game you're playing, it should be fine, guys. It should be fine. Yeah, whatever. Playing this music while you're doing something else, sure, make an argument for that. But it's the game! It's the game. Triangle strategy is too much dialogue, but the gameplay is really fun, yeah. Jaybird, you've heard Metaphor has a miserable amount of dialogue bloat, made you nervous to start it. That's the problem, man. Like, this game has ruined other games for people. People are saying they tried other JRPGs, modern ones, by the way. The old ones actually respect your time. Like FF7, 9, 6, Chrono Trigger. 10 is one of the longest games. It's like 40-something hours. But it's always active dialogue. It's, it doesn't waste your time. They don't feel like they're wasting your time. Softcore, thank you for that follow. You know, it's a modern thing. Okay. Anyway. Oh, fuck you about. Kingdom Hearts dialogue has some charm. Kingdom Hearts, I streamed 1 and 2, and I don't remember those being bloated. Because they're kind of older games in that regard, still. So. Yeah, exactly, killer. All your FF8 VODs are... The battle theme was randomly muted? Oh, bro, dude. My FF8 VODs, I had to mute stuff like Eyes on Me. Yeah, sure, whatever. Dude, FF10 twos. What can I do for you? I had to trim that. I had to trim that short seriously, because that song is only allowed in shorts that are under 60 seconds long, which is new to me. Never seen that one before. But I'm like, all right. It was a blessing in disguise, though. You know, better that short be 1 minute than 1 minute 40 seconds. You know, who am I to criticize inefficiency and then do that myself? So. Also, How Bites! Thank you for the Prime. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Chained Echoes. Is Chained Echoes dialogue heavy? Is that bloated? They muted Wily's Castle, Angel. Fuck. God. There is one other thing I'll say. You know, something I've heard quite a bit is that... like, if you want Final Fantasy to go back to turn-based, why not pay... Oh, fuck. It's too hard. What is this? Hang on, I don't think I've seen these before. Sorry, I got distracted by The Shiny. Pretty wild they mute in-game music. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, Octopath and Bravely always make me think of those things. Have I not been here? Yellow Harvest. I have been here, okay. Sorry, I got confused because I had like 2 entrances, and that was like heaps weird. So, Mike Aseki! Appreciate that. Have I played Stellar Blade? Yeah, whenever I need a splooge before I fall asleep, I boot that up straight away. Because that's what that game is made for. You won't last 5 seconds. Alright, okay, let's get out of here. Let's get out of here, Sonny Jim. Let's get out of this fucking place. There's that Nevron who I haven't given, like, the light to at the very beginning. Does that give you anything good? Is that worth it? Slay the Spire doesn't really grab me. I'd rather play something like Darkest Dungeon for that sort of game. I think I've done it. Have I done everything? You know what? Hang on. You know what? Let's go give that... How do I get to that Nevron who wanted the light at the beginning? How do I get to him as quickly as possible? Like, is there a... How do I get there? Do I just have to backtrack through this? This is the first zone, isn't it? Though. Eski, are you alright, mate? What are you doing? Oh god, you got no one to blame but yourself for that, mate. Oh my god. Oh, that looks so stupid, mate. That looks... I gotta clip that. That is Esquier face surfing, as you were saying. God, that is so silly. Yeah, vacuum cleaning. Go to Spring Meadows and fast travel. Okay, I'll have to find that. Alright, let's see what this does. Evoke Spear!
A bit of violence, yes.
A bit of feet. Right, let's see what this says. Troubadour trumpet. Oh, piss off. Such a stupid move. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun, but it's time for... Phantom Strike! Oh, I fucked it! That's fine. Okay. Simon isn't poo-poo? God tier boss fight? Oh, it's amazing. Esca's just drunk. So this is Spring Meadows, I'm pretty sure. You silly sausage. Right. I think everyone forgot to bring this light back to the Nevron. Isn't it crazy how different the tone of the beginning of the game is? It's just the opening area, and it's so, like, heavy. And I loved Flying Waters, you know, like, Flying Waters is just, like, it just captures the beauty and the magic of the whole area. Oh, I'm definitely recording some shit here for later on, okay. So back to the beginning, right? There we go. Got it. Light flickered off after. Lovey. Nunny? Also, welcome in. We are so much stronger now than the first time we were here. So, there's a white Nevron here somewhere. I just forget where he is. This music is so appropriate after, like, all your friends have died. Man. In the game. Turn back, behind? Okay, gotcha. Behind the flag. Because it's funny, when you get to the Gestrel village, everything's so light now. It's so much nicer. It's such a relief. Alright, let's have a chat with this bloke. God, I have not seen this guy in 3 months. Shine. I need to shine. Do you bring the light? Without the light, I cannot follow where she leads. This will help. Oh! Oh! Oh, I'm cooming. Gone are the days when I wandered in darkness. Soon I shall shine. Alright? Light it. Help me shine. Make me complete. A very precise shot, perhaps. All right. Here I go. Oh! Oh! Long have I awaited this light. I'm sorry. Oh, I must join the others. Lead me, mistress. Nunny. For the future, shrouded in darkness. You have to tell us more. Will, please, mistress, capture light. Oh, gosh. My light. I caught only a glimpse. The resin must have burnt out? How unfortunate. Though I am sure now I can reach her. I felt my mistress guiding me. I could almost hear her. I must have more light to understand what she asks of me. Shine. I need to shine once more. Oh!
What does it mean by light? Let's keep an eye out for other Nevrons like this one. We might learn something.
I got a healing tint from that? Ah, you did. Ah, could have used that 100 hours ago. Another healing tint. Well, I was wondering where they all were, and now I've got them all. I've got all the healing tints now. Oh, the moaning is crazy. I'm sorry. Just another day on Sebby Web's TV. Fuck. Thank you, Demon Lord, for that. There's areas you can unlock now? Wait, with this light thing, I can unlock things now? Ah. Probably should have done that a while ago. Fuck. Well, that's everything now, isn't it? think that's it, chat. I think it's it. Get me the fuck out of here. It's time to uninstall the game and delete my Twitch channel. Look around before you leave. Too late, mate. Too fucking late. Too fucking late. Alright, guys, here's what we're gonna do. Here's what we're gonna do. You gotta head to bed, 8-bit Sean. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out, man. I think I've done literally everything I want to do in this game. I've seen everything. I've done everything. I think it's time for a watch party. How's that sound? Would any of you be down to a watch party? Yeah, I've done the fountain. I've done everything. I got a very fun special watch party documentary prepared that I've been wanting to show chat for a long time. Because I got nothing else to do here, guys. This is it. It's the end of an era. I've beaten Golgra. Nope, that's not a thing. And the next game I stream will be on Saturday, and it will be Metal Gear Solid 1. Hang on.
Oh, lovely.
Probably should have found that 100 hours ago, but it's all right. I've beaten Simon. I've beaten him twice. Twice, mate. So, yeah, Dragoon, we'll be doing Metal Gear Solid 1 this Saturday, and I have... The last time I played that game was in 1998. So, yes, something tells me it's going to feel like a first playthrough, because a bit of that's going to not be so fresh in my mind. And I've also never played Metal Gear Solid 2 or 3. So we'll be doing those as well after that. So, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. 98 was only 10 years ago. No. No, it wasn't. Fuck. What's that, Minstrel Muse? We've done the floating cemetery. We've done everything. Done everything, guys. Damn it. This is what's happening. You know how, like, when you guys finished the game, you just didn't want to stop playing? You're like, no, no, surely maybe there's a picto under this rock or something. There's got to be something. I can't stop playing. No, I don't want this game to ever end. Oh God, oh God. Yeah, I'm finally there too. I'm finally there too, guys. God, look how beautiful this is. I'm finally fucking there. Calling MGS1 mid is a take. Are you talking to me? You talking to me? Because I never said that, alright? Never said that my entire life. Unless you're talking to someone else in chat. New game plus. Yeah. So. Oh. Okay. MGS3 is peak. Oh, people say 3 is amazing. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm upset. I'm upset. I don't want to close it. I don't want to close the game. Sandfall, can you just hurry up and make a new game, please? Just use AI. Just put E33 in the AI engine and just be like, DLC in this style, all right? Just put those prompts in. Just type in E33 sequel into the AI game bot and make a new game. I don't want it to end. I've got nothing without this game. Nothing. This game is my life. Oh my God. E33, you will be missed. It's been a while. It's been the end of an era. But you know what? Let's pin that. Let's make that into like the last short I post about E33, which means it's gonna come out in like a month because I've got a lot of shorts. A lot of shorts, mate. It's time to leave the canvas. Oh, I'm so sad. I'm upset about this. Chat, you know what? 07's in chat. One of the greatest games ever made. A game that has changed The video game landscape changed Final Fantasy forever, influenced the JRPG discussion and conversation forever, and outside of that as well, influenced video game design, practices, respect, attitudes towards gamers, pricing. It's basically the embodiment of everything Sven Vink said. I think that's how you pronounce it in the Video Game Awards. I'm sad about this. Until the next DLC comes. Oh, even Monoko's waving! Until the DLC comes, until the next game comes, until the next set of Lune's feet picks come, until I come. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to say goodnight. Good luck to E33. This game is freaking special. This is, yeah. See, even Monoko is wafting away the smell of Lune's feet away. Even he's had enough of it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. For those who are here, and for those who come after, good night. And good luck. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it! I don't want to do it! But it must be done. Good night. Mom! Tell Sandfall to make a new game! I want another expedition! Mom! Ah! And thus, we were all gommaged out of existence. I'm upset! So, guy jumped through a painting of the manor? I know. You know what? I thought that was quite a nice little end to that as well. Let's do that E33 goodbye speech or something. I don't know. I'm sad about this. It's Maelle's fault. This game has to change your life, at least your stream. Oh, dude, my stream is my life, man. No, there's life before this game and life afterwards. Like, as I say, chat, before my first Expedition 33 short, my YouTube was at 13,000 subs. A few months later, it is now at 80,000. It's crazy. It's crazy. I've gone from 30,000 followers on Twitch to 40,000 followers. Lord Megabon, welcome in, you fucking dog. Rowie, welcome in. My Instagram, I think, went from, 3,000 to 17,000. My TikTok went from, 2,000 or 1,000 up to, 10,000. Crazy. Unbelievable what this game has done for my channel. And let's get a better song. Let's get a more appropriate song for this. Ooh, what about this one? I fucking love this song. Yeah. And thank you guys, everyone who's been here from the shorts, you know, and from, yeah, all those different platforms. And thank you to my long-standing community who's been here for all these last few years. It's been awesome. E33 was special to everyone, man. It really was. It really was. You know, because at E33 you came here. Oh, you! And, hang on. I think Billy might be coming in to say hello for a bit. Perfect timing. Let's get wee Billy Webbs here. Just 1 second, chat. Let's see if he wants to hang out. Let's see if Billy wants to hop in. Hey, Billy. Oh, you. Oh, did they just chuck you in the straw? Say hi, chat. What a little scoosher. You see a little chat? Oh. What a little squishy boy. Okay, let's full screen him. Let's full screen you for a bit. Come here. Yeah, let's full screen you. On the... Wait, no! No, Billy! Oh, it's alright. It's alright, buddy. It's alright. See, that's you. It's on the screen, mate. You say hello to chat? Oh, you little licky lips. Come on, no, stop kicking me. It's okay, Billy. It's okay. Oh, look how squishy he is. Such a good boy. You wanna hop up there? Okay, up you go. He's just hopping on his cat tree. Such a handsome young man. Just giving him some pats, so he forgives me. Good boy. Here, let me just screw that in for you a bit more. There we go. Alright. He's your new god. He's such a good boy. Oh. I can see how Egyptians worshipped cats now that I have Billy. Now I've got this wee fluffy boy. He's sad there's no more E33. I know. He looks so angry. He always does. Here, I'll show you a photo that I took of him the other day. He was sleeping on my lap, and he just looked... You've never seen something look so grumpy and content at the same time. Corrupted by his own power. Wise? 510. Oh, you want to hop out? Oh, alright, I'll let him out. But before I do, I'll give you a wee photo of him. Oh, look at this. Oh! I was just lying down the other day, having him just answering some YouTube comments, and then he comes up and he does this. Look at your face. It's like he's so happy, he's so content, and yet somehow he looks so angry at the same time. He looks so grumpy. Oh, that little fat boy. So yeah, anyway, as you can tell, I love my fucking cat. If you join the Discord, it should just, you should be able to join the Discord fine. So he's meditating, yeah, pretty much, man, pretty much. He looks like me. I feel like I'm in a good mood a lot of the times, and he just looks grumpy as hell, which is like a funny contrast. So his face is so scrunched. Here's what we're gonna do, guys. We're gonna do this documentary. Let me just refresh this. But this is a really interesting one.
They're better.
Jesus. While we do that, I'll tell you what. I'll go to the toilet. Everyone go to the toilet. Make yourself a coffee, whatever. I'm going to take a piss and maybe pour myself... You know what? Maybe I'll pour myself a whiskey. Why not? It's a free country. Let's celebrate. Let's celebrate finishing E33. Alright? How's that sound to y'all? And I'll put on a video or something while we're gone, okay? I'll do that. Also, Kaylee and Rose, thanks for that follow. Sorry if I missed that earlier. Let's chuck this on. This looks cool. Actually, no. No. We'll chuck this on. Fuck. That is just such a good song. It's just... Oh, mate. Someone in my comments said that they were banned from playing this music at work because they played it too much. I can just imagine the employees and the bosses being like, all right, it was good the first 50 times, but fuck, mate, no more Clair Obscur music in the workplace. God, stop it, or you're fired. You're done. You're out. It was just too good. You too? So it's not just... Yo, so you, Sheena, you as well. That is so funny, mate. That's so nice that the devs as well are joining in. It's just, there's something so unpretentious about the whole process and about the whole company, which is just so nice, man, because I remember when I was seeing, when I see the Video Game Awards now, it's sort of... I don't know, it feels like it's a bit dolled up to be more than what it actually should be in a lot of ways, dare I say. It's like, hey, we're not making Casablanca here. These are video games, all right? It should just be like Scorpion and Sub-Zero doing backflips with Crash Bandicoot, a guy in a Crash Bandicoot costume. You're like, whoa, hey kids, screw school, come hang out with me. That's what it should be, Not these sort of weird esoteric art things. I don't know. That's just how I see it. Also, Kent Ninja, thank you very much for the Subaru! Sorry I nearly missed that earlier. Welcome in, you fucking dog. Appreciate that, Kent. Have I seen the cosplays? Oh, dude, what's cool about E33 is the cosplays are going to be, there's multiple cosplays for every character. That's what's so cool. We'll just call this... There we go, that's what I'll call this. And I'll put this in... God, dare I risk streaming and just chatting? Wish me luck, chat. There's never been a greater hive of scum and villainy than the just chatting section on Twitch. But we're gonna do it. It's gonna happen. It'll fucking happen. What's up, Echo the Poo-Poo? This song makes you want to learn French, Angel? French is, a very hard language to learn, even though it's close to English. But there's a lot of cool shit from France. Like, have you guys ever seen the movie that the Bloodborne aesthetic comes from? You know, the hunter outfit? Have you guys ever seen that movie? Brotherhood of the Wolf? I'm gonna have a sip of this whiskey, and then we'll get down to business. You seen it, Larby? Who is Alan Moore? Shibam. Alan Moore wrote Watchmen, V for Vendetta, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, The Killing Joke, the Joker's origin story that Heath Ledger read for The Dark Knight. He also wrote some of the best Superman stories that have ever been made. Him and Frank Miller are considered two of the greatest geniuses in comic book writing. Alan Moore he's one of the best, I think he's one of the best writers who ever lived. And he's one of my biggest influences in a lot of ways. Let me put it, yeah, I'll tell you what. We'll go in. Is it acceptable to join me with a whiskey even though it's 7 a.m.? Oh, God help me. Yeah. Yeah, you love the movies based on his books, but he doesn't. Triangle. Here's the thing. Watchmen, there's worse comic book movies. It's not bad. Rorschach and the Comedian are amazingly characterized in that by Jackie Earl Haley, I think that's his name, and Jeffrey Dean Morgan. Incredible acting from the two of them. But that movie can only grasp 30% of what the book's about. V for Vendetta is it's a good movie as a movie. The book is much deeper. And you know what? Why don't we just get down to business? How's that sound? All right, chat. It's been a pleasure. Thank you everyone who's joined me for Expedition 33. We are now going to do a documentary called The Mindscape of Alan Moore. Now, the reason I want to play this is because a lot of people have asked me, about how I look at stories and storytelling and its weird structures and all that. And, what am I trying to say here? If you want to know one of the windows in which I look through stories at, Alan Moore is gonna tell you how it's done. Why can't I speak language? So I'm trying to read this chat. Do I have an opinion on Neil Gaiman? He did Sandman, right? I've seen the Netflix show. I haven't read the books. Are they different? Are they different? So, hey, can't drink all day if you don't start early. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, let me rephrase this. The reason I want to show you this, guys, is because this documentary upgraded my understanding of art and storytelling. And I hope it can do the same for you. Anyway, nah, fuck you about. Let's do this. I'm adapting to alcohol again. I haven't drunk in so long that my brain doesn't know how to handle it anymore. All right, chat. Enough fucking about. Cheers. I give you The Mindscape of Alan Moore. Shadow Snake. Expedition.
In my work as an author, I traffic in fiction. I do not traffic in lies. Although I'll admit that the distinction is a nice one and perhaps not easy for the layman to make. With fiction, with art, with writing, It's important that even if you're dealing with areas of complete outrageous fantasy, that there is an emotional resonance. It is important that a story ring true upon a human level, even if it never happened.
How relevant is that to Expedition 33? Just right off the bat. It's like about as fantasy as you can possibly get, and yet people love it because the characters like Lune and Gustave and Maelle and Sciel feel so real. And the reason they feel so real is because, as we learned from Jennifer Svedberg-Yen, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, all these characters are very heavily modeled after her at different points of her life. So yeah, they all come from who she really is. That's why they feel real. Anyway, let's go. Why do Brits always make, like, their towns look like an apocalyptic dystopian hellscape? Like, I'm sure it's not this bleak in the UK. I mean, I've never been there. But... Sorry, let's go. Let's go.
Northampton.
Born in Northampton in 1953, I started life in an area known as the Boroughs. This was the oldest area of Northampton and also the poorest. It was where the rural families who'd been drafted into the towns to man the conveyor belts of the Industrial Revolution ended up. It had originally been the system of moats and forts that surrounded Northampton's castle before it was demolished, so all of the streets had names like Moat Place or Fort Street or Dungeon Alley or whatever. And this was a quite bleak, grim, monochrome area. There were a great many families who were probably, looking back, incest families where even the dog had the same hair lip. I found
that's a hell of a review of a British town. Yeah, sorry, I forgot how incredibly how this guy doesn't pull punches at all. Awesome, Mahomie, thank you for the follow. Yes, welcome to the way that Alan Moore speaks. Let's continue. Also, I'm sorry that, like, these are auto-generated subs. They're not always going to be perfect, but I feel we might need subs because there are probably some Americans or second language speakers who might find the North English accent a bit difficult to understand. We're just doing our best here. Let's continue.
myself surrounded by a monochrome world of limited... I found myself surrounded by a monochrome world of limited opportunities. The only window out of that restricting world was the tales of mythology that I would read, or the bright four-colour superhero stories, adventures of people who had no restrictions, people who could fly over the housetops, people who could become invisible. This was a very important key to a very important door. It opened vistas of the imagination with which I was eventually able to transcend and escape the limitations of my origins. Now, comics were something that I'd been reading for as long as I could remember being able to read. They were almost a staple part of working class existence. They were something like rickets. They were just something that you had. I'd originally read most of the British comics, which mainly featured working class children in working class environments, generally being spanked by their parents or teacher, which was a peculiar fixation of the British comics of my boyhood. And pretty much they presented a world that was almost indistinguishable from the one that I lived in, and thus I didn't find it the most exotic world into which I could escape. However, when I was 7, I picked up my very first American comics. These were
hell yeah, brother,
bright, garish, 4-colour things that, rather than taking place against some anonymous northern British backdrop, took place in cities like New York, which to me were as exotic as Mars. The idea of buildings of that scale, the idea of this modernness that seemed to pervade everything. This was a futuristic science fiction world. And then, against that backdrop, you had these incredibly colourful characters who had these amazing powers, who could transcend their human limits. I'd already been attracted to mythology, fairy stories, anything which had people that could fly or become invisible, or could lift huge mountains, or could perform any of these heroic acts for which gods and heroes are largely famous. And so, having discovered the American superhero books, it was a fairly natural transition. Here was something where I didn't have to read the same myths over and over again, but where every month I could read something new about Superman or the Flash. This became a preoccupation. At first, I was probably preoccupied with the characters themselves. I wanted to know what Batman was doing this month. Around about the time when I reached the age of, say, 12, perhaps a little earlier, I became more interested in what the artists and writers were doing that month. It had finally occurred to me that these stories weren't just drawing themselves, that somebody was drawing them, somebody was writing them. And I became fairly knowledgeable in the styles of the different artists. I became critically able to distinguish between a good story and a bad story. And comic books were still very much a part of my life. I mean, which was, in physical terms, was changing quite rapidly, as it would for anybody at that age. I'd moved from my primary school in the working class area into which I was born to a grammar school. Now, call me naive, but entering grammar school was the very first time that I actually realised that middle class people existed. Prior to that, I'd thought that there was just my family and people like them and the Queen. I had really not been aware that there was a whole strata of humanity in between those two positions. When I got to grammar school, I realised that I was one of the very few working class people there because of the 11 plus system and its rigours, and that a lot of the other children there had had the advantage of probably a better education than I'd been privy to. Thus, from being a star pupil at my primary school, from being top of the class every year, and from being made head prefect with a little green enamel badge, I suddenly plummeted to 19th in the class, which was a tremendous blow to my already insufferably huge ego. I don't think I ever quite got over that. Certainly by the next term I was 25th in the class.
You know what is that I relate with this story a lot as well. Like in my middle school, high school, I was like really good at acting there. I mean, that was my thing, you know. I was the actor guy, you know. And then I went to acting school after that, and I had not read a single book on acting because I thought, oh, they're going to teach me that there. Then I got to acting school, where everyone else had read at least 3 books on acting, and I didn't even understand it at its fundamental basics. And I sucked, or at least felt I sucked for about 3 years straight. And considering that was the thing that I thought was my thing, that was my reason to be, that was where my sense of self-worth came from, and to feel like the worst in the school at that, in his own words, it was a massive blow to my insufferably huge ego, and it took me, how long did it take me to get over that? I'd say about 12 years. Yeah, about 12 years later, I was finally over it. Anyway, let's continue.
For the next couple of years, I was second from bottom.
Oh, and one of the ways that I dealt with that was that during school, I read a book or 2 on acting. And after I got out of school, I was like, okay, I'm never going to let that happen again. And I read, I think, about 12 to 15 books on acting. So I kind of know it a bit better now. All right, anyway, nothing about. Let's keep going.
I'd finally
Seems like some of you had this experience too. All right, let's go.
come to the realisation as I was second, I was 25th in the class. I think for the next couple of years, I was second from bottom. I'd finally come to the realisation that I was not going to cut it in the kind of academic world that was spread out in front of me. I decided, pretty typically for me, that if I couldn't win, then I wasn't going to play. I was always one of those sulky children who sort of couldn't stand to lose at Monopoly, Cluedo, anything. So I decided that I really wanted no more of the struggle for academic supremacy or anything of that nature.
To be fair, I feel like we can all relate with that. If I can't win, why even play? So you go and you find games in life where you can win, or where you do stand a chance. Does reading books on acting help? You'll be less ignorant than if you hadn't. Yeah, it's better. No, it's better. Reading a book won't make you good at acting, but it will cure your ignorance about what it is. So just act like you've read the book. Oh my god. Vital, welcome in. Yeah, the game's rigged anyway, Grofile. Let's keep going.
Anything of that nature. After having been expelled from school at the age of 17, I found that my horizons rapidly contracted. The headmaster, who had dealt with my expulsion, had, I think, taken me rather personally.
Tarath, thank you for that 26 months. Appreciate that. Sorry, let's rewind. This story, to my memory, is heaps bleak.
Rapidly contracted. The headmaster, who had dealt with my expulsion, had, I think, taken me rather personally. He had written to all of the colleges and schools that I might have thought of applying to, and told them that they should under no circumstances accept me as a pupil because this would be a corrupting influence upon the morals of the other students. I believe that he did at one point in the letter refer to me as sociopathic, which I think was rather harsh. The same thing applied with jobs. Any job that I was applying for meant that I would need a reference from the school, and the references I was getting from the school were kind of the antimatter equivalent of references.
Oh, God.
Plus, the only jobs that I could get were ones that just didn't give a damn who they employed. So I found myself working at a skinning yard and tannery at the bottom of Bedford Road in Northampton, which was probably one of the bleakest places that I've ever encountered, where you would turn up at 7:30 in the morning and drag huge, heavy, dripping sheepskins out of vats of mingled blood, urine, water, and excrement.
That is so dreadful, man. Just listen to that Shakespearean description of what that job is. Holy shit.
Relief of mingled blood, urine, water, and excrement. That the only relief from this was the concentration camp humour of throwing chopped off testicles at each other as a break to the monotony. And it was indeed monotonous. I was expelled from that job after a couple of weeks for smoking dope in the mess room, which really wasn't improving my career curve any. The next job I was able to get was that of a toilet cleaner at a hotel, and it more or less went downhill from there until I finally ended up as a comics writer.
What an amazing description. I then got a job as a toilet cleaner, and then it went downhill from there. It's just, oh my god. Dude, this guy's way of... his use of language, his choice of words, his way of describing things is some of the funniest shit I've ever heard. He's just brilliant. Also, Llama Todd, you fucking dog! Thank you very much for the 40 month-a-roo! Guys, follow my man Llama Todd over here. You fucking dogs. Yeah, so they just threw chopped off sheep's balls at each other to lighten the mood. My god. Crumpy, welcome in. We're looking at the Alan Moore documentary. This guy is amazing. This guy's genius. Alright, enough fucking debate. Let's keep going.
Quitting my day job and starting my life as a writer was a tremendous risk. It was a fool's leap, a shot in the dark. But anything of any value in our lives, whether that be a career, a work of art, a relationship, will always start with such a leap. And in order to be able to make it, you have to put aside the fear of failing and the desire of succeeding. You have to do these things completely purely, without fear, without desire. Because things that we do without lust of result are the purest actions that we shall ever take.
I mean, he's absolutely right about that. I mean, yeah, whatever it is you want in life that's truly worth having, yeah, you almost got to... if you worry about the past too much or worry about the future, you're not going to be fully in the moment, and in the absolute moment is where you need to be in order to make it work, you know. So, yeah. Phenomenal passage, by the way. Never ever forget that. Rewatch that as many times as you need to until it's drilled into your brain, because it will serve you for the rest of your life. Yeah, it's good, isn't it, Rotten Kimchi? It's good. In fact, I'll turn that into a short because I think everyone should know that little pro tip about life. Yeah. All right. So I will be making some shorts out of this too, because I love this guy's work, and I'd love more people to know about it. So can't do anything without lust, Eben. Do you think I have any energy left for lust after I've been playing E33 for like 10 hours? Listen, mate. My DMs are full of women being like, Seb, hang out with me. And I'm like, fuck off. I'm hanging out with Clive. I mean Verso. Oh, fuck. That's the exact DM I send back to them. So, all right. Let's continue, boys. Welcome in, Tech Ducky. The Watchmen comic. The Watchmen comic is phenomenal. Read it. We'll get to that.
Originally, actions that we shall ever take. I originally, having delusions of adequacy as an artist, had both drawn and written some strips for one of the music papers and for a local paper. After a couple of years, I'd realised that I could not draw well enough or fast enough to ever make any kind of career from this. And so I'd started to look into the possibilities of actually writing comic strips for other people to draw. This had landed me a couple of early jobs at places like 2000 AD and the British Doctor Who Monthly and Weekly that were published around that time. I learnt my craft doing very short stories, 3 or 4 pages each, which is an excellent way to learn writing of any sort.
That's a really important point, and he elaborates on this in, I forget if it's... he's got a 20-page book called Writing for Comics, and he's also got a BBC lecture series, which I actually also bought and watched the whole thing on. But the point he's making, right, is that when he first became a writer, he originally planned out the most elaborate, ambitious space opera you could ever imagine. Took him 6 months, then he sat down and he's like, I don't have any of the skills to write this or pull this off. So then he instead wrote, as he said, these short stories that are each about 4 pages long, 4, 6, 8 pages long, and each short story taught him a different technique. helped him master and experiment and get to grips with a different technique. And by the time he's written hundreds of these, then he can take on a more ambitious project like Watchmen or V for Vendetta and piece all those things together into an elaborately broad and deep layered work. I don't know if I'm wording that well, or hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, as a German, you have a chance to come into the stream. Dankeschön, welcome in, Dankeschön. Triangle. Yeah, look, 16 has good parts, but you know, it's less than the sum of its parts. Got too many parts, in my opinion. Eben, I appreciate your sass. I appreciate it. All right, let's continue. Fuck.
Progressed to doing a couple of series where I'd got a little more say in the nature of the material and was able to take more chances, to be a bit more experimental. And these started to win awards in Britain, which impressed the Americans no end. The Americans tend to think that every award is an Oscar, and didn't realise that the comic industry awards are all voted for by 30 people in anoraks with dreadful social lives.
God, that's so slack. I mean, I guess it's also true. But I love this thing that, like, all Americans just think every award is an Oscar. That's so good. Anyway, let's continue. Let's continue.
And so, as far as they were concerned, if I was an award winner, then I was an English genius. And so they brain drained me to America and set me to working on DC Comics' Swamp Thing title, which caused a bit of a stir and at least made DC trust me enough to give me other projects, again allowing me more or less to write whatever I felt like writing.
Well, basically, in a nutshell, Swamp Thing was some C-tier, shit-tier hero. He's just like half man, half swamp. What Alan Moore did was take the building blocks of his backstory, turn him into something far more deeper and interesting and unique than had ever been conceived of, and also turn Swamp Thing into one of the most powerful characters in DC, to the point where it's theorized that maybe he could even beat Superman on a good day. This is how fucking good Alan Moore is. He took a C-tier hero and turned him into one of the most interesting, deep, and complex characters. I mean, hey, he worked with the hand he was dealt. Anyway, let's continue.
This led to Watchmen in the middle 80s, and that was one of the books that was responsible for the ridiculous blizzard of publicity that comic books, or graphic novels, as somebody in a marketing department had decided by then that they should be called, became popular. I got into the swing of my writing career.
That's so funny to call out graphic novels. It's like, this is just a marketing name. I mean, look, they're comics. I mean, and that doesn't mean they have to be shit. So, oh, Anxious, that's fine, man. That's fine. Look, Anxious, you were nice to me in the TikTok comments, all right? That's more than I usually get, so I appreciate that. Also, Jonah Marte, thank you very much for the Subaru! And I'm sure chat can help sort you out. Also, welcome in Horfcut. Sorry if I missed you earlier. All right, let's keep going.
I got into the swing of my writing career in the very early 1980s, which was a very overcast time politically. Most of the liberal world was watching in horror at the inexorable rise of the Reagan-Thatcher right-wing fuck-buddy coalition. At the same time, we had elements of fascism starting to make themselves prevalent upon the streets of Britain with the rise of the National Front. And all in all, things were looking fairly bleak. I decided that if I wanted to write about this grim present, the best way to do it was in the form of a story set in the future, which is by no means a new trick. Most dystopian science fiction is not actually about the future, it is about the times in which it was written. And the script that I came up with, V for Vendetta, was no exception. This was set in what at the time seemed an unreachably distant period in the future, which was 1997. And Britain had been taken over by a coalition of fascist groups, with a very romantic anarchist adventurer set in opposition against that. to get over the idea of fascism, I needed some symbol that would convince the readers that they were looking at a fascist police state. The thing that I finally settled upon was the idea of security cameras mounted upon every street corner and watching every move. I figured, yeah, that looks pretty much like fascism in action, and the readers were equally impressed, and apparently so were government figures who must have been reading it at that time, and decided that security cameras at every street corner of the metropolis was indeed just what we needed for the late 1990s.
Fuck. This documentary is from 2003, by the way. And, it's... I haven't been to the UK, but I've heard the stories. So I don't know. I don't know, man. But isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? Anyway, let's continue.
Good evening, London. It's 9 o'clock, and this is the Voice of Fate, broadcasting on 275 and 285 in the medium wave. It is the 5th of the 11th, 1997. The people of London are advised that the Brixton and Streatham areas are quarantine zones as of today. It is suggested that these areas be avoided for reasons of health and safety. Police raided 17 homes in the Birmingham area earlier this morning, uncovering what is believed to be a major terrorist ring. 20 people, 8 of them women, are currently in detention awaiting trial. Queen Zara today appeared at the opening of a new waste reclamation plant in Plaistow. This was the Queen's first public appearance since her 16th birthday in June. The Queen was wearing a suit of peach silk, created specially for the occasion by the Royal Couturier.
It is worth reading V for Vendetta, the comic book, because it does two things differently from the movie. One, it is actually a lot more, how would I say, like, maybe serious, lifelike? Maybe believable is not the right word. In the movie, there's some characters who are kind of caricaturish. They're, like, comical, in a way. In the comic book, that's not the case. Everyone kind of comes across as a real, serious person. The second thing is that V, the guy with the mask, he is not quite the black and white villain. V, the guy with the mask, he is not quite the black and white hero that the movie portrays him to be. In the comic book, he's a lot more grey. He's, in fact, as you're reading it, you'll be like, is this, hang on, this guy is fucked. This guy is really weird, man. This guy, I don't know if I can get on board with everything this guy's doing. And that makes him so much more interesting and the story so much more unpredictable in a way. Good movie adaptation, but you will find a lot of depth and complexity and moral grayness in the book that you won't find in the film. Also, Toxic, thank you very much for that follow. I appreciate it. You do, Ponkick. V's not a good guy at all. He's a different kind of monster. Yeah, see, the movie, V is like a very stylish, romantic sort of hero slash anti-hero, whatever. In the book, I don't know, man. This guy, yeah, he's something else. Anyway, let's continue. Well, as I say, propaganda tells you what to think. Art gives you something to think about. Also, let me just sneakily turn that into a short. And all right, let's continue. Fuck. Yuzu, welcome in.
Watchmen also grew out of the politically shadowy landscape of the 1980s, when the Cold War was probably at its hottest in 20 or 30 years, and when nuclear destruction suddenly seemed a very real possibility. Watchmen used the cliches of the superhero format to try and discuss notions of power and responsibility in an increasingly complex world. We treated these fairly ridiculous superhuman characters as more human than super. We were using them as symbols of different kinds of ordinary human being rather than as different super beings. For
those of you who haven't read Watchmen, there's superheroes in it technically, but they're all just humans, just in costumes, masquerading, just doing this stuff, and they are all deeply flawed people. There's only one character in the entire story who has any powers at all, and his powers are basically on the equivalent of being a god. Dr. Manhattan. Dr. Manhattan is so strong that he could probably even beat Dr. Manhattan is so strong, he could probably even beat Saitama. He could probably even beat One Punch Man. He could probably even hold his own against Lord Beerus. That's how strong this guy is. It's not even strong. It's literal omnipotence this guy nearly has. And he's the only one who didn't want to become a hero. It's just a scientist who had an accident. And that's the thing. So, V for Vendetta is an incredible movie, one of your favorites. G'day, Aussie Rifle dude. V for Vendetta might be the best movie adaptation of Alan Moore's stuff. Because Watchmen is good, but when you've read the book, you see it just can't do everything. Hugo Weaving's speech in V. Hugo Weaving's phenomenal in that film, yeah. Relicard, welcome in. Yeah, they're all just vigilantes, basically. And for those of you who don't know where the name Watchmen comes from, I think it's from... I don't know if it's one of the founding fathers or said it, or if it's something from from America in the 1800s where, you know, to keep the peace, to keep the order, you have the Watchmen. But then there's that great question. Who watches the Watchmen? You know, who polices the police? And that's where Watchmen comes into play. So yeah, phenomenal book. You must read it. Anyway, let's continue.
I think they were rather than as different super beings. I think there were probably quite a few things about Watchmen which chimed well with the times. But to me, perhaps the most important was the actual storytelling, where the world that was presented didn't really hang together in terms of linear cause and effect, but was instead seen as some massively complex simultaneous event with connections made of coincidence and synchronicity. And I think that it was this worldview, if anything, that resonated with an audience that had realised that their previous view of the world was not adequate for the complexities of this scary and shadowy new world that we were entering into. I think that Watchmen, if it offered anything, offered new possibilities as to how we perceive the environment surrounding us and the interactions and relationships of the people within it.
Rorschach's journal.
Are you guys ready for one of the hardest fucking openings in the history of storytelling? This is the opening. These are the opening lines of Watchmen.
Rorschach's journal. October 12th, 1985. Dog carcass in alley this morning. Tired tread on burst stomach. This city is afraid of me. I have seen its true face. Streets are extended gutters, and the gutters are full of blood, and when the drains finally scab over, all the vermin will drown.
Oh my god.
The accumulated filth of all their sex and murder will foam up about their waist, and all the whores and politicians will look up and shout, "Save us!" And I'll look down and whisper, "No."
Oh. What an opening! That's how you open a comic. Oh my god! It is It just hits the ground running, no punches pulled, maximum intensity right off the bat. In fact, I've heard it said, I don't know if this is true, but I think Matthew McConaughey's character in True Detective Season 1 is actually inspired by Rorschach, by his unbelievably bleak view of the world and life in the universe. It's intense. And Red and Alan Moore's voice, even better. Even better, man. Even though Rorschach isn't from North England, it sounds like he should be. Because it's so good. Now, the next part is going to be even worse. And I'm going to give you the context for this. Rorschach, the guy with the black and white mask, vigilante hero, he wants to, optimistic, whatever. He's tracked down a case of a kidnapped girl. A little girl who's been kidnapped. And when he finds the guy who did it, the guy's killed her, and he's fed this 6-year-old girl to his dogs. So, Rorschach, upon having this revelation, handcuffs the guy to his radiator, sets the whole place on fire, gives him a saw, and he says this saw isn't strong enough to cut through those chains, but it is strong enough to cut through you. Make a choice. And as the house burns down, Rorschach, now reborn, the man behind the mask is dead. Now the man with the mask, that is who he is from now on. He sits on top of a building, and he writes in his journal, and he writes this entry.
Stood in firelight, sweltering blood stain on chest like map of violent new continent. Felt cleansed, felt dark planet turn under my feet, and knew what cats know that makes them scream like babies in the night. Looked at sky through smoke heavy with human fat, and God was not there. The cold, suffocating dark goes on forever, and we are alone. This rudderless world is not shaped by vague metaphysical forces. It is not God who kills the children, not fate that butchers them, or destiny that feeds them to the dogs. It's us. Only us.
Fucking hell, what a passage. Like, my God. Oh my God, bro. That is, yeah, that's the mind of Rorschach, all right. That is a line and a half, man. And it's, it gives you great insight into just how crushingly bleak and nihilistic Rorschach's perspective on everything is. And at the same time, it's also shaped by his experiences. He's just seen the worst of humanity. But yeah, consider that use of language. Consider what incredible, precise, and specific use of words and vocabulary and turn of phrase he uses in that speech. It's just crushing. It's just incredible. It's like, I don't know, dark poetry or something. Hadna Farm, thank you for that follow. Appreciate that. Leafy Wizard, it's amazing. It's so good. You see, like, you have to read the book. You won't... Let me put it this way. Time magazine did... Oh, God, how do I say this? I think 10 or 15 years ago, Time magazine did this list. Top 100 novels of all time from 1923 until now. Watchmen was the only comic book on that list. Watchmen, a comic book, beat out actual novels, things that were specialized for that. It beat them at their own game, which is an unbelievable feat. That shouldn't even be possible. And you know what? It fucking deserves to be there. It's that good. Watchmen is a book that is so good that even though it might be, you could argue it's one of the best superhero movies ever made, when you read the book, the movie just pales in comparison. It's almost not even worth watching. No, I take that back. Some things are really good about it. but when you've read the book, you know that it cannot be a film. It at best could probably work as maybe a 6 to 8 part miniseries, each episode an hour long. It needs more. But the book is gnarly. It's, as you say, Eoja, the book is very philosophically confronting. How would I say that? The book is extremely psychologically intense. And it's one of the best books in the world for that reason. So, is the animated movie worth watching? I didn't know that existed, to be honest. But, oh no, I've heard of it. I don't know. I would just say read the book. Read the book. Just trust me. This is not like... Just trust me on this one. If there's any book to read, it's Watchmen. Yeah, the book is... Oh, the movie... Wait. The show is a sequel to the comic? Isn't it? Hey, in the show, doesn't Ozymandias shit his pants in the courtroom? Because that sucks. That sucks if they did that, so... all right, enough fucking about. Sorry I keep pausing, but we do need to talk about this. Anyway, let's continue.
Whenever anybody talks about comics, they usually make a great deal of the similarities between comics and film. And while I'll agree that a comic creator who understands cinematic techniques will probably be a better creator than one who doesn't, I feel that if we only see comics in relationship to movies, then the best that they will ever be are films that do not move. I found it in the mid-80s preferable to try and concentrate upon those things that only comics could achieve.
Remember I made this short a while ago saying how, like, the medium is the message? Like, the... How would I say this? Craven, thank you very much for the 36 months, man. 3 years on the dot today. Sorry, let me cheers you that. I got distracted by that. It's why I made that short. This is why I made that short, saying that, like, yeah, the medium is so important, you know, like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's originally a radio play. I haven't heard it, but from what I hear, it works better. The comedy works better in book form than it does in movie or show form. It's why live action anime almost never ever works, because real life humans cannot look or move in a way that is specifically designed for animated cartoons. We can't do it, you know. So anyway, let's continue. Fuck.
The way in which a tremendous amount of information could be included visually in every panel. The juxtapositions between what a character was saying and what the image that the reader was looking at would be. So, in a sense...
That is something he does a lot in his comics as well. Like, you can't just, like, flick the page. Like, each page you turn to, there's so much detail to take in, and the whole thing makes sense once you've, like, put it together. And it's a work of art. Guy's a fucking genius. Yeah. I appreciate that, Pawn Kick. So, alright, let's keep going. Sorry, I know I chat a lot.
But... I was looking at would be. So, in a sense, I suppose that you could say that most of my work from the 80s onwards was more or less designed to be unfilmable, which is what I had to explain to Terry Gilliam when he was originally selected as the director on the touted Watchmen movie that was being discussed at that time.
You know the tragedy, though? I like Zack Snyder for the movie 300, but Terry Gilliam would have been a better director for Watchmen. For those of you who don't know, Terry Gilliam was the animator for Monty Python, and as a film director, he has done some of the most insane shit you will ever see in your life. Like, visual spectacles, like The Fisher King with Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges, where Robin Williams plays a guy who's gone crazy because someone has blown his wife's head off with a shotgun. And he thinks he is a literal knight trying to find the Holy Grail. And when he gets PTSD'd, he has these visions of a gigantic knight who shoots flames out of his head and chases him down the street. This is all before 3D special effects. They just made this shit for real. The other one would be Brazil. Brazil is like 1984 mixed with Monty Python. And it is a visual feast. It's one of the greatest things you've ever seen. It has one of the best endings to a movie that has ever happened, probably in the history of all storytelling. That ending, you will never be able to forget it. It is so mind-blowing. And, yeah. I haven't seen Dr. Parnassus, Hadna, but I hear that's good. I'm trying to think what else he's done. I think Terry Gilliam did Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Yeah. No, he's crazy. He is cracked. You need to know the films of Terry Gilliam. So, I appreciate that, Wilhelm. You too, Alex? Oh, Alexander Rex. Brazil is insane. It's nuts. It's insane. Let's keep going.
I realised that I was becoming a celebrity, which was nothing that I'd ever expected, given that comic writer was about the most obscure profession in the world when I actually entered the job. The thing about fame is that fame in its current sense had not really existed before the 20th century. Back in previous eras, even if you were very, very well known, that would perhaps be amongst 1,000 people at most, if you were Pope or somebody. In the 20th century, however, with these massive surges in communication, suddenly a different sort of fame was possible. And I tend to think that what fame has done, it has replaced the sea as the element of choice of adventure for young people. If you were a dashing young man in the 19th century, you would probably want to run away to sea. Just as in the 20th century, you might decide that you want to run away and form a pop band. The difference is that in the 19th century, before running away to sea, you would have had at least some understanding of what the element was that you were dealing with, and you would have perhaps, say, learned to swim. The thing is that there is no manual for how to cope with fame. So you'll get some otherwise likeable young person who has done one good comic book, one good film, one good record, who is suddenly told that they are a genius, and who believes it, and who runs out sort of laughing and splashing into the billows of celebrity, and whose heroin-sodden corpse is washed up a few weeks later in the shallows of the tabloids. I'd never signed up to be a celebrity, and I came to the realisation that it was nothing that I was very comfortable with. I realised that celebrities are a kind of an industry, they're a kind of a crop. Media moguls like Rupert Murdoch or people who run the big networks, they need a constant stream of celebrities to fill column space in their magazines, to fill time upon their TV shows. And because celebrities tend to burn out quickly, you have to constantly create new ones. And I really didn't feel that I wanted to be part of that process, and so withdrew to the relative obscurity of Northampton.
Yeah. What an insanely bleak but also accurate assessment of celebrity and fame. Because I think nowadays there might be better manuals for understanding fame. I mean, like, there's probably a few books or articles out there, or some people are like, all right, if you're going to do this, here's how it sort of works. You know, don't do this, obviously. But yeah, that comparison with running away to Hollywood being like running away to, you know, join the Navy or become a pirate, you know, like in One Piece. Pretty accurate. Anxious! Thank you for the Subaru. How long is this documentary? Probably another 50 minutes, but it'll be on my VODs channel, and I'll have my editor do an edited reaction of this as well. Time Bandits, Mystere? Yeah, that's an interesting movie too. So, alright, enough fucking about. Let's get going. Good night, Yule.
On my 40th birthday, rather than merely bore my friends by having anything as mundane as a midlife crisis, I decided it might be more interesting to actually terrify them by going completely mad and declaring myself to be a magician. This had been something that had been coming for a while. It seemed to be a logical end step in my career as a writer. And the problem is that with magic, being in many respects a science of language, you have to be very careful what you say. Because if you suddenly declare yourself to be a magician without any knowledge of what that entails, then one day you are likely to wake up and to discover that that is exactly what you are.
What a profound statement! This guy's such a character. He's such a character. He's so good. Mel, thank you for the follow and thank you for that Prime. And Anxious, thank you for enjoying the content. Appreciate that. Nishish the 13th. Who? Sorry, you dropped in. Who is this? You'll see. Chat can help you out with that. So you're gonna go full wizard, Eosha. Nowadays, a wizard is just like someone who hasn't had sex until the age of 40. But you know, in his time, it was a whole different thing. Now let's continue. Fascinating man.
There is some confusion as to what magic actually is.
There's an ad break coming up, and I do not want it to interrupt this part because this is extremely profound, what he's about to say. And if you watch this, you'll see how I look at art in a lot of ways. I'm not saying I'm profound. I'm saying what he says is profound. What he's about to say is going to change the way that you look at movies, games, music, comic books, novels, paintings for the rest of your life, and you will never be able to unsee it or unknow it. So, why don't we run an ad? Let's play some music, and we'll come back and we'll do this part. Be right back. Be right back. Fuck. Thank you for those follows, Clochette and Keckling. Appreciate that. I can respond to some of you guys for this 1.5 minutes. Usually when I do a watch party, I just want to keep the video going as much as possible, because I've been in streams where, you know, a bit of banter is fine, but you don't want to have like a 20-minute pause or anything, you know, which I'll just do anyway. So, 43 is not that old. It's not. It's not. I mean, it's not the youngest you could be, but like, if you're 60, you'll be like, fuck, I wish I was 40. So yeah, and we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Hello, Sire. Thank you for the follow. You hit 40 last month, Eosha. I mean, look, I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer myself. But you're 25, makes you feel 50 when somebody who's 17 calls you Unk. Here's the thing, Lance Despins. Don't worry about young people calling you old, alright? They're just gonna do it. And you know what? In 10 years, they'll have people 10 years younger than them calling them old too. And then they can see how it feels. Nearly 40 going, Kent? Oh my god. But the thing is, don't worry about being 40, because a lot of people throughout history do their best work in their 40s. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. A lot of people don't really figure out who they are until their 30s. It's just true, whether you like it or not. So, Mentalist, welcome in. Hey dude, appreciate that so much, man. Appreciate that. Welcome in. Welcome in. You get annoyed when people call me ma'am. I mean, look, I just don't give a shit anymore. They're gonna call me what they call me. So, fuck. Mentalist, thank you for the prime. Appreciate that. Fucking appreciate that. She-Wolf, kids, am I right? Guys, also please chuck a follow to She-Wolf. She's bloody hilarious. Lovely, lovely Indonesian gal. Great sense of humor. Super chill stream. If you don't follow her, you can suck my fat one. Oh, I'm sorry. Alright, welcome back, ad watchers. Thank you for watching that 3-minute ad. Are you guys ready to go really deep? No, I don't mean in that way, for God's sake. We're gonna go deep into, how do I say this? Alan Moore is about to explain how art is literally magic. And we're gonna go in. We're gonna fucking do this, alright? Polygar, 40 is fine, change your profession. Yeah, exactly, yeah. 3-day hangovers after 3 beers. Oh, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Alright. No, fuck you about. Let's do this. Guys, listen very carefully to what this guy's about to say.
There is some confusion as to what magic actually is. I think that this can be cleared up if you just look at the very earliest descriptions of magic. Magic, in its earliest form, is often referred to as the art. I believe that this is completely literal. I believe that magic is art, and that art, whether that be writing, music, sculpture, or any other form, is literally magic. Art is, like magic, the science of manipulating symbols, words or images, to achieve changes in consciousness. The very language of magic seems to be talking as much about writing or art as it is about supernatural events. A grimoire, for example, the Book of Spells, is simply a fancy way of saying grammar. Indeed, to cast a spell is simply to spell, to manipulate words, to change people's consciousness.
How insane is that? I'll say that again. A grimoire is just a fancy way of spelling grammar. To cast a spell is literally to just spell. Because how many times has this happened to you, chat? You've seen a movie, or you've read a book, or you've listened to a song, and it changes the way you think. And when it changes the way you think, it changes what you do. And then that actually changes the world. That is as close to doing real magic that any of us can ever get. And he's about to explain how it's actually even more powerful in some ways than real magic if it were real. Yeah, we're going deep, ladies and gentlemen. We're going deep. 7, thank you for that follow.
And I believe that this is why an artist or writer is the closest thing in the contemporary world that you are likely
Now, why would that be? Why would people be more scared of a bard than a magician? He's got a very interesting explanation for this. think this has already happened throughout history, because I assume that, say in Shakespeare's plays, for example, he's got some, like, idiot characters. And I would assume they're actually named after and modeled after people he actually knew and didn't like. And so 400 years after he wrote this, we are still laughing at and ridiculing the memory of these... who were, in his mind, absolute losers who he hated. Or just like, you know, people, yeah, that's it. That's your legacy. Everyone just laughs at the memory of you for hundreds of years all over the world at what an absolute bellend you were. What an absolute tosser you were. I imagine there's some other ones that go back maybe even thousands of years. Say maybe the comedies of Euripides, you know, one of the ancient Greek playwrights. I imagine this has happened more than you think. But it's kind of cool in that regard. As they say, the pen can be mightier than the sword. Actually, that doesn't really apply here, but you know what I mean. So, as a programmer and a professional, I literally take arcane and confusing language and create something from nothing. There you go. Chat. Programmers are wizards. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So, yeah, no, and you can see it today. Like, even today, there's some people who just, like, they fucked up so bad that everyone's just going to remember them as an absolute joke or a terrible person for the rest of all time. That's their contribution to humanity. That's the stamp they left on this world. That's how everyone's going to remember them. As someone who sucked balls. So, alright, enough fucking about. Let's continue back in. Cao. Yeah, exactly, Barack. Cao from Romance of the Three Kingdoms is always treated like a devil. You know, he's the bad guy in Red Cliff. He's usually a bad guy in Dynasty Warriors. I don't know if he actually was that bad in real life, but I guess history has kind of remembered him that way. So I don't know. Anyway, let's keep going.
Writers and people who had command of words were respected and feared as people who manipulated magic. In latter times, I think that artists and writers have allowed themselves to be sold down the river. They have accepted the prevailing belief that art and writing are merely forms of entertainment. They're not seen as transformative forces that can change a human being, that can change a society. They are seen as simple entertainment, things with which we can fill 20 minutes, half an hour while we're waiting to die. It is not the job of artists to give you...
That is such an unbelievably bleak perspective and bleak take on junk food entertainment. But oh my god, what is story, Mark? You know. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's fine that there is junk food entertainment, but we gotta not pretend like it's fine art. You know, that's why I did that short myself, where I was like, come on, we gotta train our taste a bit better, all right? You know, nothing wrong with liking... Like, I love McDonald's, the food in real life, but I'm not going to pretend that it's sushi. I'm not going to pretend that it's fine cuisine. So, yeah, dude, he pulls no punches, this guy, man. He goes all the way. Killing time until time kills you. I like that rhyme scheme. It's mad. So, welcome in. Caught you off guard, Brick? Good. Snack wrap is awful. I don't know snack wrap. All right, enough fucking about. Let's continue. This guy just spitting gold.
It is not the job of artists to give the audience what the audience want. If the audience knew what they needed, then they wouldn't be the audience. They would be the artists. It is the...
Let that sentence mull around in your head for the rest of your life. Anyway, let's keep going.
The job of... They wouldn't be the audience.
I'll play it again one more time, just in case you missed it, because that's amazing.
It is not the job of artists to give the audience what the audience want. If the audience knew what they needed, then they wouldn't be the audience. They would be the artists. It is the job of artists to give the audience what they need. My career as a magician continues to evolve. Since I, to a certain degree, believe art and magic to be interchangeable, it has seemed only natural that art should be the means by which I express magical ideas. This has found its way into my prose writing, in works such as Voice of the Fire, and probably...
This book...
In works such as Voice of the Fire.
Voice of the Fire, that's the only mention you're going to hear of it in this documentary, but it's a book he wrote that I think takes place over 6,000 years from start to finish in Northampton. And the entire first chapter, I think, is written in a Neolithic caveman language that he invented that is almost completely unreadable. Because it's cavemen speak. Yeah, and a lot of people who tried reading this are like, I can't even get past the first 50 pages because my brain hurts. In other words, Alan Moore is completely insane in the best way possible, and he's one of the greatest linguistic geniuses I can think of. What, like, who does that? Who the fuck thinks of such a thing like that? Anyway, let's continue.
And murder is something which is intricately connected with society in a number of ways. And with From Hell, what we wanted to do was not so much to create a whodunit as to create something which asked what happened, where we could trace all of these complex threads from the heart of the murder and see what kind of areas they led us into. Areas of history, occultism, mythology, architecture, social consideration.
This is a book I tried to read when I was younger, and I think I was just too young to fully get it, and maybe not mature enough to be able to wrap my head around it. But basically, this is a Johnny Depp movie called From Hell. I don't know if it was any good, but it covers the story of Jack the Ripper, trying to figure out who did it, because we still don't know. And it ties in, I think, like royal family conspiracies. It's got the Elephant Man in that. It's got it's very this is 420 IQ shit. This book. I need to read this again sometime. So it was good, eh? Okay, sick. Smiler, Torsten.
All of these played a part.
With Alan Moore, the book is always better than the movie, 100% of the time. It's not even a debate. Anyway, let's continue.
On shaping the world that the crimes happened in. And it seemed to me to be important to investigate all of those possibilities, to try and create a map of this event that included all of those strange foreign areas that aren't generally included when one considers a murder. I was not concerned with who done it. I was concerned with what happened. I was concerned with the whodunit aspects of the thing. The one place in which gods and demons inarguably exist is in the human mind, where they are real in all their grandeur and monstrosity.
Thank you for that follow-up.
Much of magic, as I understand it, in the Western occult tradition, is the search for the self with a capital S. This is understood as being the great work, as being the gold that alchemists sought, as being the will, the soul, the thing that we have inside us that is behind the intellect, the body, the dreams. The inner dynamo of us, if you like. Now, this is the single most important thing that we can ever attain. The knowledge of our own self. And yet there are a frightening amount of people who seem to have the urge not just to ignore the self, but actually seem to have the urge to obliterate themselves. This is horrific, but you can almost understand the desire to simply wipe out that awareness because it's too much of a responsibility to actually possess such a thing as a soul, such a precious thing. What if you break it? What if you lose it? Mightn't it be best to anesthetize it, to deaden it, to destroy it, to not have to live with the pain of struggling towards it and trying to keep it pure? I think that the way that people immerse themselves in alcohol, in drugs, in television, in any of the addictions that our culture throws up can be seen as a deliberate attempt to destroy any connection between themselves and the responsibility of accepting and owning a higher self and then having to maintain it. Back when I was doing...
Yeah. Let that sink in and think about that for the rest of your lives. Isn't that one of... what even do you call that? Other than just complete, unbridled, crushing levels of truth. It's why I like Werner Herzog a lot as well. He's another great artist and also one of my main influences in life, because he would say that, you know, if you're an artist, you can't just look at the beautiful things in life. You have to look at the ugly things as well, up close, and you have to understand them. Otherwise, your art's going to be incomplete, and your understanding of the world and life is going to be incomplete. Yeah, so... Rubber Ducks are yellow. Thank you so much for the Subaru. He forgot to mention immersing themselves in Get Your Waifus. I'm walking here. Appreciate that. Yeah, that's a very, very heavy and deep thing to think about, but it's worth knowing and it's worth considering. You want to watch that later? Don't you worry. This will be on my VODs channel, and we'll turn this into an edited reaction thing as well. Hey, Klunik. Good morning, I guess. Welcome into the stream. I knew I was useless. Didn't have to put it that way, though, Alty. Oh, my God. I don't know. Well, it's interesting to think about. Rusty Spooler, welcome in. It's interesting to think about and watch that thing that he just said and ask yourself, fuck, does that apply to me? Or have I escaped from that? It's worth considering that. It's worth asking yourself that question, because... the truth will set you free. Anyway, enough fucking about. Let's see what other incredibly happy things he's about to say. Let's go.
Back when I was doing Swamp Thing, which was ostensibly a horror comic, I found that it wasn't really effective to just sort of swamp the readers in horror every issue. You needed to do other things that would alleviate the repetitive qualities of the horror and to make it more than a one-note strip. I decided that what might be useful was to try and link up the elements of fantasy horror from our imaginations, werewolves, vampires, zombies and the like, with real-life horrors. Racism, sexism, pollution, the collapse of the environment, and thus lend these social issues some of the weight that...
So the reason I'm making that face is because there is a part in the documentary we're going to skip, which is about sex! And there's nurples! And we are not going to look at those on Twitch. I thought it was this part, but I might be wrong. Green VA, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
That fantasy fiction could offer. Most of us have little to fear from vampires, and yet we live in cultures that are every bit as dangerous, despite the non-existence of terrible supernatural forces. One of the things that I did was a strip in which we explored the erotic possibilities of Swamp Thing.
Ah, yes, and this is the part of the documentary that we're not going to watch because I don't think I can get away with showing nurples on Twitch. So I'm just going to check this out. Yes, yeah, I don't know if we can... Ooh. Oh! Okay, yeah, we're not going to look at that. I think... Hang on. Let me just check something real quick.
I figured that if you could fill comic book after comic book every month with fights, then surely you should be able to fill at least one comic book with a sexual act.
No, get out! Get out! No sex in my fight scene comics, alright? I don't want to see Swamp Thing make out with a lady! I want to see him punch Superman in the face. Alright, so we're gonna skip that part. I'm sorry, guys. That's why I had to censor that.
Which,
oh, we are definitely not doing that.
To sex. Healthy...
No.
No,
oh my god, we are not doing that. No.
The counter was
come on, stop it! Get over it! Stop it!
Responsible for formalised to the spirits, village or community.
I think we might be
imagine very much like spirits detached. Each of
okay, we might be okay. We might be in the clear. Let me just get out of there.
As any other piece of fiction.
Okay, all right, we're safe. We're safe. We're safe from the boober. So basically, what he was going to say is that he did a series of pornographic comics, which he's not going to call erotica, because he said, in his words, the difference between erotica and pornography is largely dependent on your income bracket. So, I think he was trying to tackle a problem in British culture, which is that, let me put it this way. If you go to, say, like France, like French culture, Spanish culture, Italian culture, they kind of naturally have game, you could say, if you want to call it that. Whereas the British cultures can kind of be a bit more reserved about that, you know. And I think he was trying to make some comics that could help alleviate that or make people feel a bit more comfortable in talking about such things like vag talk, you know, and penorbs. But, yeah, I don't know. So, let us continue. All right. Basically, it was a noble attempt from Alan Moore, but I think us English-speaking Brits and everyone who's cut from the same cloth, we're going to be sexually repressed for the rest of all time. So, fuck. Let's continue.
I've been looking at the kind of the history of magical thinking and where it starts to go wrong. And for my money, where it starts to go wrong is monotheism. I mean, if you look at the history of magic, you've got its origins in the caves. You've got its origins in shamanism, in animism, in a belief that everything around you, every tree, every rock, every animal, was inhabited by some sort of essence, some sort of spirit.
We're going to keep going with this. I'm just going to open my window because it's really hot right now. But yeah, that is apparently a thing in animism. Like, even rocks have spirits, you could say. Oh, alright. Oh, God. Oh, so good to open my window. Oh, God. Oh, my God. Oh, fuck. Clive. Swamp Thing, the Pinar Destroyer. Yes, we're not going to do that. Can I timestamp where the TOS part is, so you know how to avoid it? Basically, it's around here, around the middle. All right. Anyway, let's continue.
That could perhaps be communicated with. You would have had some central shaman or visionary who would have been responsible for channeling ideas that were useful to survival. By the time you reached the classical civilization...
Basically someone who trips balls on mushrooms and weed and just, I don't know, sits there and thinks about how they can... Maybe we could try this in our tribe.
You can see that this has formalized to a degree. The shaman was acting purely as an intermediary between the spirits and people. He was, in his position in the village or community, I should imagine, very much like a spiritual plumber. You know, the people in the group would have had their own roles. The person who was best at hunting would have been a hunter. The person who was best at talking to the spirits, perhaps because he or she was a bit crazy, a bit detached from normal material world, then they would have been the shaman. And they would not have been masters of a secret craft. They would have simply been dispensing their information throughout the community because it was believed to be helpful to the community. When you get the actual classical cultures emerging, this has been formalized so that you've now got pantheons of gods, and each of those gods will have a priest caste that will act to a certain degree as intermediaries who will instruct you in the worship of that god. So the relationship between humans and their gods, which could be seen as the relationship between humans and their highest selves, that was still a very direct one. When Christianity comes in, when monotheism comes in, then all of a sudden you've got a priest caste moving between the worshipper and the object of worship. You've got a priest caste becoming a kind of spiritual middle management between humanity and the divine within itself that it is seeking. You no longer have a direct relationship with the Godhead. The priests don't really necessarily have a relationship with the Godhead. They've just got a book that tells you about some people who lived a long time ago who did have a direct relationship with the Godhead. And that's all right. You don't need to have miraculous visions. You don't need to have gods talking to you. In fact, if you do have any of that stuff, you're probably insane. You know, in the modern world, that stuff doesn't happen. The only people who are allowed to talk to gods, and in a very kind of one-sided way, are priests. Monotheism is, to me, a great simplification. I mean, the Kabbalah has a great multiplicity of gods, but at the very top of the Kabbalistic diagram, the Tree of Life, you have this one sphere that is absolute God. The monad, something that is indivisible, you know? And all of the other gods, and indeed everything else in the universe, is a kind of emanation of that God. Now, that's fine, but it's when you suggest that there is only that one God at this kind of unreachable height above humanity, and there is nothing in between, you're limiting and simplifying the thing. I mean, I tend to think of paganism as a kind of as an alphabet, as a language. It's like all of the gods are letters in that language.
That is an interesting interpretation. Averfrost, thank you for that prime, appreciate it. For example, just take like the ancient Greek gods. You know, you want to talk about the sun, oh, that's Apollo. The ocean is raging, oh yeah, Poseidon's pissed off. The flowers are dying, looks like Mercury hasn't been doing his job. You know what I mean? So it is interesting how he looks at all this and prefers the older way because it allows for a greater, how would I say, divine spiritual vocabulary. As we're getting very deep and philosophical here, and also, look, we don't normally discuss religion or politics on my stream, so we're not going to have like a debate about that. All right, like, trust me, no one wants that. But his perspective on this, interesting. Mythology, it's fascinating. Pancake Bruiser, I don't know it well enough. Like, I really want to know it more. I just don't have time because I'm too busy arguing with people in the comment sections about Final Fantasy.
They express nuances.
Sorry, I'll stop.
Shades of sort of meaning or certain subtleties of ideas. Whereas monotheism, it tends to be just one vowel, and it's just something like, ooh. It's this monkey sound. You can almost imagine the gods becoming frustrated, contemptuous, that with all this richness of spiritual concepts that are available, why reduce it to one plaintive single note that the utterer does not even understand? The alchemists had two components to their philosophy.
What he's about to say is one of the most important things you can ever understand in the history of art. In anything. And you're going to apply it to E33 as well. So, buckle up, toots. Listen up. This is extremely important to know. And once you know it, you will never forget it. You'll probably hear it once and you'll remember it for the rest of your life. Mr. Void, thank you for the follow. Are you ready? Let's do this.
The alchemists had two components to their philosophy. These were the principles of solve and coagula. Solve was basically the equivalent of analysis. It was taking things apart to see how they worked. Coagula was basically synthesis. It was trying to put the disassembled pieces back together so that they worked more efficiently. These are two very important principles which can be applied to almost anything in culture. There has recently, in literature, for example, been...
Just consider what that means, and now think about the greatest modern stuff you've seen, and how they all did exactly that. Vince Jallo, thank you for the follow. Like, the easiest one, the easiest example, because it's all fresh in our minds, is Expedition 33. It took apart the pieces of all these different video games from all over the world. This works. Bonfires, Estus flasks from Dark Souls, Final Fantasy's turn-based combat and its feeling and its AAA graphics and all that, the mind-blowing twists, Persona's menuing. What else? The world maps. The overworlds from, say, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, Legend of Dragoon, the rhythm-based attacks from Super Mario RPG, Legend of Dragoon, and so on and so forth. It's Sekiro parrying. Yes, exactly. The, what else did they take? Without spoiling anything, their world has influences from, say, Black Mirror, The Matrix, Inception. It's the people who made it took all these they took apart all these great things and then they recombined it into a package that's completely new, fresh, original, and in many ways better than what was already out there. Verso from Devil May Cry, so on and so forth. Ben Starr, they took that part of FF16 and put it into E33. Solve and Coagula, you can apply this to anything and everything. You just do it. You know the system. Even the original Final Fantasies did this as well. You know, they would take systems from, say, Dungeons and Dragons, you know, but then they would make it their own. They would take mythology. You got Ifrit, you got Behemoth, you got Leviathan, you got Shiva. These are all things from different mythologies around the world. But the Shiva in Final Fantasy is not the same as the Shiva from Indian mythology. The Ifrit from Final Fantasy is not the same as the Ifrits from Middle Eastern cultures, which I think is related to jinns? I'm not sure. Behemoth and Leviathan, these both come from the Bible, and so on and so forth. Solvian Coagula is in everything. And I'm going to play it one more time, just so it's really embedded in your brains, because you need to know this and you need to never forget it. You will never look at art the same way after this. Also, Vince Jallo, appreciate that. Thank you for enjoying the content from the Philippines. Let's do this. So, and for those of you who don't know what alchemists were like very early forms of chemists, scientists. It's sort of a pseudoscience in a way. And I think they were trying to... There was a few things they were trying to do. One was they were trying to turn lead into gold. Don't think they ever succeeded in that. And the other thing, I think they were trying to create the Philosopher's Stone, which is, I guess, the secret to immortality. Since, I guess, Americans don't know what philosophers are, they called it Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. This is what I've been told. I think Americans know what philosophers are. But if you asked people, I think more people know what a sorcerer is, or could tell you what a sorcerer is, than a philosopher is. Maybe that's why they changed that name. So, freaking sick. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate that. You could say JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a good example of Solve and Coagula, because it takes elements from Fist of the North Star. I mean, just look at Jonathan Joestar himself. It takes elements from Dragon Ball in terms of like the intensity of the fights and all that, but it doesn't make a mistake that it doesn't fall into a trap Dragon Ball fell into, where it became only about power levels, and any move outside of a power level was irrelevant. Whereas in JoJo, yes, they're there, but there's also weird tricks and strange things all the stands can do, you know. And JoJo also solve and coagulated all these different bands and stuff, you know. It's used, you know, that all their stands are named after famous Western bands and Western moves and stuff, you know. So there's so much. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is a really good example of this principle in action. Noble, the publisher, Scholastic, believed that the word philosopher might confuse or deter younger readers, making them think it was a book about philosophy rather than magic. I could totally see that novel. Look, at the end of the day, they were probably worried they were selling it to a Beavis and Butthead generation. Even Beavis and Butthead know what a sorcerer is. They probably don't know what a philosopher is. But Noble, I appreciate that. Guys, chuck a follow to my man Noble. I fucking love this man. He's also played E33 himself, and he is a man of culture and taste. So, all right, enough fucking about chat. Sorry for that little aside. Let's continue.
It's had two components to their philosophy. The alchemists had two components to their philosophy. These were the principles of solve and coagula. Solve was basically the equivalent of analysis. It was taking things apart to see how they worked. Coagula was basically synthesis. It was trying to put the disassembled pieces back together so that they worked more efficiently. These are two very important principles which can be applied to almost anything in culture. There has recently, in literature for example, been a wave of postmodernism, deconstructionism. This is solve. Perhaps it is time in the arts for a little more coagula. Having deconstructed everything, perhaps we really should be starting to think about putting everything back together.
Isn't that interesting? Because he was saying this in 2003. And when I think about postmodernism, the only thing that comes to my mind is Jordan Peterson being like, oh my god, these goddamn postmodernists! Up yours, Twitter. We'll see who cancels who. Anyway, let's continue. But I think that's a good point. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think of some things. Anyway, you can probably think of a few things off the top of your head that have been reconstructed now that we've taken literally everything apart.
Spiritualism was the natural state of human thinking up until the Renaissance and the subsequent age of reason that grew out of it. Our original way of seeing the world was as a place entirely inhabited by spirits, where everything had its indwelling essence, where everything was in some sense sacred, including ourselves. The Age of Reason changed all that. While it's inarguable that reason brought many great benefits and was a very necessary stage of our development, unfortunately this led to materialism, where the physical material world was seen as the be-all and end-all of existence, where inevitably we were seen as creatures that had no spiritual dimension, that had no souls, living in a soulless universe of dead matter.
It's interesting because Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty has this perspective, and it just leads to a very unmotivated, depressed, miserable perspective of everything. I have not seen that novel. Was that Jordan Peterson debating Richard Dawkins? Because that's interesting. I would honestly like to see that. I grew up on Dawkins. The guy is, whatever your thoughts are about his, the God delusion and all that, the guy is brilliant at explaining evolution in a way where some dumbass actor like myself can understand. Him versus 20 atheists, and his debating technique came forward. I imagine it went something like this. It's like, do you believe in God? Well, I mean, that depends on what you mean by believe. And it depends on what you mean by God. It also depends on what you mean by do. And you. I mean, what is you? At the end of the day, do you believe in me? I mean, it is what it is, man. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it. And then he turned to Asmongold and, play World of Warcraft. I imagine it went something like that. I was watching some AI thing where it was Jordan Peterson debates 20 Kermit the Frogs. And, like those things where like the college students debate the one guy and all the Kermit the Frogs sit down with them and it's like, I mean, how does it feel that you stole my voice? He's like, I didn't steal your voice. I've always talked like this. Is he? Yeah, but you're not even a frog, man. How can you sound like this? It's like, I sound the way I am. And that depends on what you mean by sound. It was like the most bizarre thing I've ever seen in my life. It was one of the stupidest and yet most brilliant uses of AI I've seen in a long time. So, anyway, enough fucking about. Let's continue.
In the mid-1980s, I was asked by an American legal institution known as the Christic Institute to compile a comic book which would detail the murky history of the CIA from the end of the Second World War to the present day, covering things such as the heroin smuggling during the Vietnam War, the cocaine smuggling during the war in Central America, the Kennedy assassination. I
won't be doing that novel just because I'm trying to finish this. I'm trying not to stream more than 8 hours these days. It just destroys my sleep pattern. But I will check it out though. People have been telling me about the Jordan Peterson debate stuff. Has been really interesting. So, also thank you for that follow. No purpose. All right, enough fucking about. My own records, not for now. I appreciate that. Let's keep going.
And other highlights. What I learned during the frankly horrifying research that I had to slog through to accomplish this was that yes, there is a conspiracy.
This is really interesting. You need to hear this. This is one of the most interesting perspectives on conspiracy theories I've ever heard in my life, and you're going to hear it right now.
Institution known as the Christic Institute to compile a comic book which would detail the murky history of the CIA from the end of the Second World War to the present day, covering things such as the heroin smuggling during the Vietnam War, the cocaine smuggling during the war in Central America, the Kennedy assassination and other highlights. What I learned during the frankly horrifying research that I had to slog through to accomplish this was that yes, there is a conspiracy. In fact, there are a great number of conspiracies that are all tripping each other up, and all of those conspiracies are run by paranoid fantasists and ham-fisted clowns. If you are on a list targeted by the CIA, you really have nothing to worry about. If, however, you have a name similar to somebody on a list targeted by the CIA, then you are dead. The main thing that I learned about conspiracy theory is that Conspiracy theorists actually believe in a conspiracy because that is more comforting. The truth of the world is that it is chaotic. The truth is that it is not the Jewish banking conspiracy or the grey aliens or the 12-foot reptiloids from another dimension that are in control. The truth is far more frightening. Nobody is in control. The world is rudderless.
There's a reason that's much scarier than the idea that there is, like, you know, whether it's, you know, the Masons or the Illuminati or, you know, the reptilians running the entire world or whatever, a room full of 13 people who run everything. The reason that's comforting is because if that's true, that means you can control the world. You can do this, as long as you get there first, as long as you have enough money, as long as you have enough power. But the idea that no matter how much money, power, or control you have, you still can't control the world, the element of chaos is still there and can still disrupt everything and destroy all your plans and have everything go to shit, that's much scarier. That's actually, in a way, that's much scarier. But I personally prefer to believe in that way because I myself am an agent of chaos like Heath Ledger in The Joker. So, but yeah, it is... It also there probably isn't one conspiracy. Like, obviously there's not one conspiracy. It would be everyone vying for that spot. And, yeah, there you go. And it's basically all to turn the frogs gay and hide the fact that the Earth is flat, which it is. And if you haven't figured that out by now, don't be a globetard, all right? Don't be a sphere cuck. Wake up to the flat truth. So... yeah, that's what the lizard people want you to think. Well, there's two ways you can do this. It's like, yes, you think no one's in control. That's just what they want you to think. To which I can say, yes, you think someone's in control. That's just what they want you to think. We can do this all day. We can do this all day. The only thing that's certain about any of this at all is that the Earth is flat. See how this goes.
The substance that has most effect upon our culture and upon our lives is completely invisible. We can only see its effects. This substance is information.
This is crazy. What he said in 2003, the fact he said this in 2003 is fucking insane because it's one of those Metal Gear Solid 2 moments where you're like, which I haven't played, but that's what people tell me there is at the end of that game, which we will find out after I finish Metal Gear Solid 2, after I finish Metal Gear Solid 1, which I'll begin and probably finish on Saturday. So, yeah. That's the thing, Yosha. Like, what are you gonna do? What, like, giant reptiles are, like, secretly running the world? How am I gonna fix that? Like, if I could turn Super Saiyan, sure, maybe I could help, but I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I'll make an angry TikTok complaining about it. I'm sure that will send ripples through the organization. Anyway, let's continue. Information, modern age.
Upon our culture and upon our lives. The substance that has most effect upon our culture and upon our lives is completely invisible. We can only see its effects. This substance is information. Science started out as an offshoot of magic. The two became completely divorced from each other and bitter enemies, although I tend to think that at the present moment the two are growing back together again. I was reading recently that people at the cutting edge of quantum physics believe that information is a super weird substance, to quote the actual phraseology, which underlies everything in the universe, which is more fundamental than gravity or electromagnetism or the two nuclear forces. This would tend to suggest that our entire physical universe is the secondary byproduct of a primal information, or, to put it in more magically acceptable terms, in the beginning there was the Word.
Fuck.
As I understand the theory of period information doubling, This states that if we take one period of human information as being the time between the invention of the first hand axe, say around 50,000 BC, and 1 AD, then this is one period of human information, and we can measure it by how many human inventions we came up with during that time. Then we see how long it takes for us to have twice as many inventions. This means that human information has doubled. As it turns out, after the first 50,000 year period, the second period is about 1500 years, say around about the time of the Renaissance. By then we had twice as much information. To double again, human information took a couple of hundred years. The period speeds up. Between 1960 and 1970, human information doubled. As I understand it, at the last count, human information was doubling around every 18 months. Further to this, there is a point sometime around 2015 where human information is doubling every thousandth of a second. This means that in each thousandth of a second we will have accumulated more information than we have in the entire previous history of the world. At this point...
That was 10 years ago. Fuck.
I believe that all bets are off. I cannot imagine the kind of culture that might exist after such a flashpoint of knowledge. I believe that our culture would probably move into a completely different state, would move past the boiling point, from a fluid culture to a culture of steam.
Instead, what happened is people just like blow $20,000 on Genshin waifus. Far more scary. But a very interesting idea. In fact, you could say that a friend of mine actually brought this up to me in a conversation. In a way, say Joe Rogan's podcast was sort of a modern expression of that information of steam, where in the past, you know, you would get scientists, historians, whatever. They might have some crazy ideas or great ideas, but they're just like kind of in their own thing. But through the Joe Rogan podcast that millions of people were listening to all over the world, you suddenly had this constant stream and influx of scientists, historians, experts on various different things who also were not necessarily in the mainstream, but who cares? Their value, the value of their information is based on how well they can argue their point, how well they can support it with evidence, how well they can argue with reasoning. Who the fuck cares if some institute recognizes them or not? Who cares if they have awards? Who cares what their credentials are if they can't express their ideas in a convincing or interesting way? You know, it doesn't matter if they have all the credentials in the world if they just feel like they're lying, you know, and can't back up what they're saying. So I would say, like, yeah, you could argue that the Joe Rogan podcast was something, this kind of multi-year cultural phenomenon that actually changed the way millions of people in the world thought. I don't know. Did he predict TikTok trends? He couldn't have anticipated it, because remember, this documentary released 2 years before YouTube was invented. So there's only so far you can see into the future. But still, he did get this part right.
Originally, there was only one science of existence. Our entire worldview was magical. Everything we did, everything that happened in the world, had a kind of shamanic, magical significance. If you look at the very earliest cultures, some of whom are still extant upon the planet, the Aboriginal cultures, most of their languages only have one tense.
This is a fascinating point. And the language, I'd say, in the modern world that everyone speaks that still does this is Chinese. Chinese has only one tense. And China is one of the oldest continuous uninterrupted cultures in the world. It's more ancient than people give it credit for, and it is ancient in some ways that you wouldn't expect it to be. But anyway, sorry, we'll continue with this.
Cultures. Most of their languages only have one tense. Everything is subsumed within the present. They can talk about things that happened and things that haven't happened yet but will happen in the future, but they talk about them in the present tense. Now, it seems that not only have we split up our existence, our study of existence, into all of these different areas, but we've also subdivided our notion of time into different zones. Whereas once there was this great eternal present, which I assume to be the kind of constant now that animals exist in.
It's funny that he says that animals exist in this constant now, because there was this book by Uta Hagen I read years ago called Respect for Acting, and she said, if you put an actor on stage and a cat on stage, who are people going to watch? The cat. The cat's more interesting, all right? Why? Because it's more unpredictable, you know. Now, why is that? Because human brain is like now, past, and future. That's kind of how we think all the time. What am I going to do? What have I just done? And what am I doing now? We're like divided and distracted. The cat, on the other hand, its brain is just one big fat now. And because of that, it is eternally in the moment and fascinating and just like it's always reacting from second to second, moment to moment. When you're an actor, you have to do that. You have to get your brain into that state, almost an animalistic state itself. If the audience sees you thinking like, oh man, my line's coming up, what am I going to say? Or if the audience sees you thinking like, oh man, that wasn't very good, I could have done that better, they're going to be bored. They're going to switch off. So you have to be moment to moment, always in the eternal now. Otherwise, your acting won't be good. It won't be alive. It won't be full of life. So yeah, basically, you know, Uta Hagen is saying lock in, but they didn't have that term back in the 1950s. So yeah, that's something every actor needs to know. And you know what? I'll fucking turn it into a short, you fucking minge. Because I want to help people, I don't know, if anyone is ever curious about acting, that's a really good thing to keep in mind. Welcome in, Kimmelainen. Yeah, dude, welcome in from Norway. Welcome in from Norway. I gotta refill my water as we continue. If the future was easy to predict, we wouldn't have problems in the now. Yeah, I know. We poor humans know we're gonna die. I mean, that's true. Yeah, sadly. But, you know, we can deal with that. Even the future is difficult for many people to process beyond a few days. That's actually true, Ioja. Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, there's a lot of people who don't really plan or think beyond the next week, if even, you know. And it depends on what you mean by week and what you mean by future or plan, you know. Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see you cancel soon. All right, I'm sorry, I'll stop. We'll continue with this. Sorry.
For example, to be the kind of constant now that animals exist in, for example. But we, as conscious individuals, have, as a species, adapted this different notion of time, where we almost see time as a bead on a wire, that the now is just this constantly moving tiny little moment that we're all in, that is sliding inexorably along a wire from past to future. If you look at some of the models that people like Stephen Hawking have suggested for time, then you find something which is actually much closer to that primitive apprehension of how time is structured than to our rather simplistic and fatalistic idea of past, present and future. I believe that Hawking talks about space-time as a kind of a gigantic starry football, a rugby ball, if you like. And at one end of it, you have the Big Bang. And at the other end of it, everything comes together again in a big crunch. But that the whole football exists all the time. That there is this gigantic hyper moment in which everything is occurring. that would mean that it was only our conscious minds that were ordering things into past, present, and future. The idea of solid flying saucers from Alpha Centauri coming and visiting us now or any time in the past, this is not a rational idea. And yet, because it involves machinery, warp thrust engines, or pseudoscientific concepts like that, then we in the West will actually pay it serious attention, as we probably did with Von Daniken. Whereas
Von Daniken, for those of you who don't know, is the guy who wrote the Chariots of the Gods book, which all of Ancient Aliens is founded upon. Which I actually don't necessarily dislike. I think it's a fun thought exercise. My only question really, though, is why would Protoss, Warhammer 40k, Predator-level technology aliens fly halfway across the galaxy to teach us how to arrange a few stones? I don't know. I think we can figure that part out on our own. Yeah. Noble, isn't it the other way around? In the past, time is dictated by having sunlight, not versus now we have the freedom to think about time like he is? That's more of like a caveman thing, maybe, where like nighttime is just dangerous, you know? But as soon as we get fire, we're safe from wolves and, you know, T-Rexes and Stegosauruses at night. So now we cavemen who lived alongside the dinosaurs, now we can actually sit down and think about things, look at the moon, wonder what that is, you know, wonder why there's Apatosauruses and pterodactyls getting in the way of it. Yeah, I don't know. I think he means more in terms of just like the language of the perpetual now. Badger, thank you for that. Prime, I greatly appreciate that. So like cats, Luke? I fucking love cats, mate. But yeah, the main thing we're trying to get at is that if dinosaurs were real, they existed at the same time human beings were. And I think we rode them to work so we could make Xboxes. All right,
spiritual ideas from other cultures, we will regard them as, well, they're complete nonsense. They're not scientific. This is an example of the limitations of Western thought, that we believe that we understand the entire cosmos, but actually we understand the insides of our heads, and even then only very poorly. Was it Niels Bohr, the physicist, who in his Copenhagen interpretation of quantum physics said that when we talk about or describe remote events, whether that be in the furthest stars or in the smallest and most remote quanta, that all we can ever truly be doing is talking about ourselves and our own processes. That all we see is our perceptions. We mistake that for reality. And consequently, we tend to be very chauvinistic about our picture of reality, as if that were the only one. Then the only way that we can look at other cultures is to imagine that they are deluded, or primitive, or just haven't got it yet. That is a way in which we, in terms of information, we isolate ourselves terribly.
Well, luckily in this day and age, now other cultures around the world look at some aspects of our culture and they're like, ha ha ha! Wow, what a bunch of idiots! So now it's both ways, you know, so it all sort of comes full circle in the end. Eben, you've been told people like you with reverse circadian disorder are throwback to when we needed people. Oh, Eben, I feel the same, Eben, because I prefer being awake at night during the day, and I think that this is not a disorder. I think that there needed to be some people who guarded the cavemen while they slept, so that other hideous monkey men, or more likely T-Rexes and Spinosauruses, didn't come and eat humans who existed at the same time as dinosaurs back in the day. So yeah, I appreciate that, Badger. Thank you so much for enjoying the E33 shorts. Appreciate that. Yeah, dude, you need guards, man. You need night watchmen to protect the sleeping humans from the Quetzalcoatl.
It's our culture kind of insisting upon its own values, blinds itself to what might actually be very useful concepts and ideas belonging to other more deeply rooted cultures. They offered perhaps richer readings of the world than cold behaviouralist science does.
I mean, it can be both ways because, you know, the advancements of, you know, what he's talking about, you know, Western thought or Western science and stuff provides incredible benefits and possibilities to the world. Yes, you know, with some limitations as well, or maybe some misguided ideas. And while we absolutely can learn some fascinating, deep-rooted shit, like for me, for example, I love Taoism from ancient China. Basically, you know, Bruce Lee, be like water and all that, that all comes from Taoism. That shit is super enriching to me in my life. Sun Tzu's Art of War, which I think was also written about 2,500 years ago in ancient China. The concept of the yin-yang is also immensely advanced and also self-explanatory. It's such, you could say it's ancient genius graphic design. So, Haynes, thank you for the follow. I hope I pronounced that right. Haynes says. So, you feel vindicated watching the West from Southeast Asia? I mean, look, it's worth looking at as much of it as possible. It's worth doing the Bruce Lee thing. Look at every single culture in the world. Take what works. Don't use the stuff that doesn't work for you. Cave woman, very ready to serve. Listen, cave woman, I want a T-Rex steak for dinner. I'm walking here as I smoke my cave cigarettes and drink my Fred Flintstone beer. People didn't sleep 8 hours a night until the Industrial Revolution. Yeah, I mean, I think it's also been revealed through various historical documents throughout the world that human beings actually used to sleep in two segments, not one big one. If you ever wonder why you're perpetually tired, it actually might be because we're not meant to have one big chunk of sleep. It's actually meant there was a thing called the second sleep, which has been talked about all throughout, like, pre-industrial history. I think the only people who really kind of still do this might be the Romance languages, like the Spanish, I think. I don't know if South Americans do this as well, but the idea of the siesta, the afternoon sleep, that apparently was normal worldwide, and now they're among the only people who do it anymore. But that actually might be an important thing to keep yourself fully energized most of the time. If you ever wonder why you're perpetually tired, if you ever wonder why you have been at least a little bit tired every single day for the last 20 years straight, maybe try a siesta. Anyway, enough fucking about. Let's continue.
Cannot talk about consciousness because readings of the world than cold behaviouralist science does. Science cannot talk about consciousness because science is a thing that deals entirely with empirical evidence, with things that can be repeated in a laboratory, and thoughts do not come into this category. Therefore, science generally tends to try to disprove the existence of consciousness. They will say that consciousness is some accident of biology, which is itself based upon chemistry, which is itself based upon physics, and wholly explicable within a normal, rational, scientific framework. Rupert Sheldrake, who is a kind of heretical scientist who put forward the theory of a morphogenetic field in order to try and understand some of the spookier effects of consciousness.
This is where we're about to get very strange, and I don't know if I think this is Lamarckian evolution, which is the only other contender to Darwinian evolution. I don't know if it holds a lot of water, though. Darwinian stuff just kind of, it's just very simple and effective. Also, hello there, Charmander. If you sleep more than 6 hours, you feel groggy and disoriented for a while. See, Evan, I just sleep as much as I can, then I eat as much as I can, and I drink coffee. and then I'm wired. Or I wake up, drink coffees, and then I just edit shorts all day. Yeah, novel, it's a conspiracy. Tropicals of siesta, where people used to sleep from sundown to 11 p.m. Got up, did stuff. Yeah, see, also, chat, I don't know shit about siestas, alright? I've never lived in those cultures ever. I don't know. I'm talking out my ass. But, you know, this is just what I've heard. You might be too high for this grow file. Buckle your seatbelts, toots. We're just getting warmed up.
I'm probably in order to try and understand some of the spookier effects of consciousness. I'm probably simplifying it horribly here, but I think that the basic concept was that once a form has occurred, whether that be a physical form or an idea form, then it is much more likely and possible for it to occur again. Now, Sheldrake says that this is because there is a kind of what he calls a morphogenetic field linking everything, and that once the idea existed, then it somehow existed in this morphogenetic field. It struck me that this might explain a lot of things about the way the human mind works. Even things, say, for example, like the fact that the steam engine seems to have been invented by 5 or 6 different people at approximately the same time. After...
I do not know enough history to know whether that's true or not. And I'm not going to look it up either, because I'm too lazy. So for all intents and purposes, that is literally true. Concom, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly, Nobble. You never know where this stream's going to go next. So, true variety. And if you have ADHD, yeah, we don't know what's going on. So, all right, enough fucking about. I wake up, poo, leave the bed, in that order. Right, anyway, back to the documentary. Thank you for that, Leonardo. Thank you for that contribution. Let's continue.
Hundreds, thousands of years of the steam engine not being invented, all of a sudden, within a matter of a couple of weeks, everybody is, you know, it's steam engine time. Everybody is coming up with an idea of steam propulsion.
Oh, God, the fact that in my brain just like, suddenly it's Morbin time. All right, it's out of my system. It's out of my system. Let's go. Fuck.
I mean, this is similar to the idea that I put forward of idea space. A kind of a space in which mental events can be said to occur. An idea space which is perhaps universal. Our individual consciousnesses have access to this vast universal space, just as we have individual houses, but the street outside the front door belongs to everybody. It's almost as if ideas are pre-existing forms within this space.
I do not know nearly enough science to confirm nor deny. All I know is that the spice must flow.
As human beings, we inhabit 2 distinct and separate worlds, 2 landscapes. We inhabit the physical world. But at the same time, since we can only ever truly experience our perception of that world, then it would seem that we more truly inhabit a world purely of consciousness and ideas. It strikes me that the land masses that might exist in this mind space would be composed entirely of ideas, of concepts. That instead of continents or islands, you might have large belief systems or philosophies. Marxism might be an island. Judeo-Christian religions might make up another landmass or continent. Human minds interact, albeit weakly, in limited ways, with idea space every moment of the day, just in order to carry out our daily lives. If you want truly unique ideas, if you're an artist or an inventor or somebody who deals in unique and fresh ideas, then you will have to plunge right into the undergrowth, into the depths of idea space in order to find those ideas that have never been spotted before. If we assume that idea space or something like it exists, then we may decide that we wish to explore that space, whether for artistic reasons, perhaps for scientific reasons, or perhaps as magicians, as occultists. Now, if we're going to venture into this hypothetical and more or less entirely unknown territory, it would seem to only make sense that we should try and track down route maps that may have been made by previous explorers. Now, when you're talking about the territory of the mind and perhaps the spirit, the only route maps available are magic systems from antiquity. You're talking about systems like the Kabbalah, with its map of every conceivable human state. You're talking about systems like tarot, a pantheon of archetypal images that provide the cartography for a map of the human condition.
We're going off the deep end now, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you probably smoked a joint, or punched a cone, or smoked a bowl before this stream, and there ain't no getting off this train we're on now. So, Propane Alan Moore, you're damn straight. Welcome in. You too, Peter. Welcome in. Alan Moore is smart, but also dogmatic. Look, you can't agree with 100% of another person of what they say, but the guy's got some incredible ideas, like brilliant ideas. Anyway, nah, fuck you about. Also, what's up, Roughneck? Welcome in. Let's get going. It smells like the 60s in here.
Most people find the word apocalypse to be a terrifying concept. Checked in the dictionary, it means only revelation, although obviously it has also come to mean end of the world. As to what the end of the world means, I would say that that probably depends upon what we mean by world. I do not think that this means the planet or even the life forms upon the planet. I think the world is purely a construction of ideas, and not just the physical structures, but the mental and ideological structures that we've erected. That is what I would call the world. Our political structures, philosophical structures, ideological frameworks, economies, these are actually imaginary things. And yet, that is the framework that we have built our entire world upon. It strikes me that a strong enough wave of information could completely overturn and destroy all of that.
You know what's crazy? Is that what he's describing already happened. Remember, this came out in 2003. The world was a very different place back then. That was 21 years ago. No, sorry, that was 22 years ago. Think of literally the apocalyptic things that have happened in our idea space since.
A sudden realization that would change our entire perspective upon who we are and how we exist.
Propane, thank you for the Subaru!
History is a heat. It is the heat of accumulated information and accumulated complexity. As our culture progresses, we find that we gather more and more information, and that we slowly start to move almost from a fluid to a vaporous state as we approach the ultimate complexity of a social boiling point. I believe that our culture is turning to steam.
They were tripping some major balls when they made this. Mayatani, I think he means by the Steam analogy that the transference of information and the cross-pollination of information is much, much faster today than it used to be, which it is. This looks like an AI video. This is 2003. They just had to do this themselves. If it's Steam on PC. Oh yeah, that's what it is. Profile, my god. Just talking about Steam. You know? Our culture's become Steam. We just play everything on that now. But for real though. Sick shit, man. Interesting shit. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. There you go. I present to you the Mindscape of Alan Moore. I hope you all enjoyed. That was a BBC production, and I don't mean the British broadcast system. I mean the kind that your mum spent time with last night. But for real, look, the reason I wanted to show you that, guys, is for a couple of things. One was his explanation for why art is magic, and to summarize that, well, actually, no, you can just watch the fucking video yourself, you'll saw it. The other thing is the solve and coagula thing, taking things apart, and then a number of things apart, and then putting them back together better than they were before. I also wanted to plug Watchmen and V for Vendetta, which are great books, comic books you should read, especially League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. That's my favorite one out of them all. So, fascinating. You'll rewatch it tomorrow just to digest it. I'll give you the link in chat right here. Here's the link. Spam that a couple of times. There it is. You can rewatch it. Look, the reason we watched the one with, I think, Spanish or Portuguese subs is because that is the only one that has any volume. All right? There's 2 other versions of this on YouTube, and they are uploaded with, like, the lowest volume possible. It was unwatchable. Yeah, and for those of you who just met this guy, he wrote Watchmen, V for Vendetta, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, The Killing Joke, the Joker's backstory, and a couple of the most famous Superman stories of all time. You've probably seen some Superman stories on the Justice League, the really good ones. He did those, basically. So yeah. Oh yeah, it was shocking. It was a shocking film. So, I appreciate that, Games Reaper. I appreciate that. And thank you guys, thank you everyone in chat who stuck around, who stayed a while and listened, as Deckard Cain would say. I know that was a very, perhaps for some, maybe it's not your cup of tea, that documentary, but I thought that I've been wanting to show this on stream for a million years. I thought, you know what, no time like the present. So, and this is a documentary that years from now, some of you are going to think of this again. You're going to be like, I don't know, I kind of want to see that again. You're going to rewatch it, and you're going to see new shit. It's going to re-blow your mind. It's going to remind you of some important shit. I mean, that's what happened to me. I've seen this, let's see, once in 2006. Let's see, maybe another time. And then again, every 5 years after that. So, all right, I'm gonna timestamp this. Because this will be a cool little watch party we can do. Or at least like a little YouTube thing. What timestamp is that? Kupo! Alright. Thank you for enjoying that. Fearless, Chat, Toasted, Ponkik, Bruiser, Queenie Jules, Kimo Layden! Yeah. You should be watching this after 3 edibles, not stuck at work. You'll have your chance to do that again. Don't you worry about that. So, fuck. Excellent. Welcome in. And, Delovan, welcome in. Yeah, I do a bit of voice acting, but really, I just like streaming on Twitch. So, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a piss, and then I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be right fucking back. And then we'll decide what to do next. Alright. Burb. Get a prostate check? No. I just drink so much water because I talk so much that, yeah. That's why when you gotta go, you gotta go. That's so much novel. My God, that emoji. Fortress of Lies. Fuck. Yeah. Yeah, I'm as healthy as a horse, Eben. Let's see. Was there anything new in the news I should check out? I appreciate that, Delovan. Yeah, you weren't the problem, you know. It wasn't your fault. Because, yeah, anyone who says that, like, oh, if you're not enjoying the games enough, you're just not trying hard enough to have fun. It's like, that's not how fun works, mate. Real fun is when you don't want to do anything else in the world other than play that game. And you lose sleep, and you lose your job, and you lose your wife. You destroy your relationships because you can't stop playing the game. That's true fun. Zelda movie, actors announced. I don't care about Zelda. Because I'm not 5. Fuck. No, I mean, look, I don't have an issue with Zelda. It just never was my cup of tea. But I imagine people are pissed off about the casting, as usual. I'm sorry, Novel. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I couldn't fucking help it, mate. Couldn't help it. You're sad when you beat the game, you never wanted it to end. I know. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do, chat. I'll tell you what we'll fucking do. I stream twice a week, basically, every Wednesday and every Saturday. This Saturday, I'm just giving you guys a heads up, we will be beginning Metal Gear Solid. In fact, do you want to see the promo art that I made for it? Hang on, let me see if I can find it. I made promo art specifically for this. I don't know if it's any good. It might just be serviceable. We might just have to work with it. Oh God. That's my promo art for Metal Gear Solid 1. Oh God, that's so crap. Well, I tried, chat. I tried to sort of, you know, make it somewhat blend and look appropriate. I feel it gets the point across. You've been waiting for years now, Grofile. I know. So yeah. Now, I've also made Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 promo art. Would you like to see that? Well, look, I'm going to show it anyway. I think this is my MGS2. Oh, that is shocking. I forgot I made the eyes red. Oh, good. I was trying to blend in. Okay, I'm walking here. Knight Tito, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that. That's solid. Solid snake. So yeah. You see my Doki Doki promo? Nothing else compares. You're right, Eben. You're right. Nothing will ever compare to the promo art that I made for Doki Doki Literature Club, which looks exactly like this. Now, in my defense, right? In my defense, I think I look rather good as the one on the left. I feel like the one on the left really, it really captures the character, you know. And I think this one's not too bad as well, Yuri. You know, Monica's doing okay. And Natsuki, I feel like, even though I'd never played the game before, I feel like I kind of nailed the characters here. Oh, and if you guys ever want, if you're interested, my entire voice-acted playthrough of Doki Doki Literature Club is on YouTube as well. Yeah, first playthrough, I had no idea about the thing that was coming. And it actually traumatized me and scared me for the next 2 hours of that playthrough. I was like scared of everything. Scarier than any jump scare I've experienced outside of that. So yeah. All right, anyway, get out. Piss off. Lastly, I'll show you what I've got for Metal Gear Solid 3, which is this. Behold. Snake Eater! No! Again, I tried with this. It sort of works in a way. It sort of blends, you know? These are also really fun for me to make. These are... Oh, I will be playing the remake of this because that's why I want to stream 1 and 2, you know, in anticipation of the remake. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah. Pink is my color. Oh, my God. This is an OnlyFans channel. Get out of here. Guys, hear me out. No. Get out. Oh, my God. Sons of Sebi. I'll be doing the Metal Gear Solid 1 version on Steam. I know it's not supposed to be the best one. I know it's like, you know... considered a crappy port. Look, guys, I'm not risking it with an emulator. I'm just not. When my emulator for like froze in the middle of Legend of Dragoon Disc 1, it sucked. So fuck it. I'm just doing that. I've already got it. The port on Steam's supposed to be fine. It's official. It should do its thing. Do I warm up my voice before each Twitch session? Oh yeah. I do a full vocal warm up before every stream. I stretch my body out completely before every stream. Because if I'm going to be sitting in a chair for this long, may as well just make sure everything's like all stretched out in limbo and stuff. I'll tell you what, chat, since this is going on the VODs channel and since people are probably going to see it anyway, I'll show you a bit of, I'll show you some promo art for other things I have planned in the future on this stream. Let's see. Oh, this one's really bad. No, we'll save that one till later. But I have never... Yeah, we'll do that. One day I will stream the Mass Effect trilogy, because I've only played the first one halfway through. Here's the stunning promo art that I came up with for that. So, I think the Shepherd looks semi-passable. I feel like Garrus on the left. I feel like that's very Garrus. And, you know, I think I look rather fetching. There's Ashley on the right over there. I think I look rather good. I was going to try and make Billy in the top, but I'm not good enough at Photoshop to pull that off, even though that'd be really funny to have him just like staring over me. So, Seb Effect just dropped. I know. We also have Mass Effect 2. As you can see, by this point, he's really seen some shit. That's why I gave him a joint and the 1,000-yard stare. I don't know who this is on the left, but I feel that sort of looks the part. And it's crazy. This rage face really fits this lady over here. I don't know who she is, but I know she looks the part. So, what else do we have? We've got this. Look, I tried, chat. I really tried to make like The Witcher 3, but the proportions are really off. Here it is. I tried, man. I tried. All right. Look, I should have made the face or the head like just smaller because everything looks wrong. Everything looks wrong. It's like it's like really unsettling plastic surgery to look at, I would say. I tried, but yeah, it didn't quite work. But now you've seen it, you can't unsee it. I know. My nose looks massive, man. Because you know it's half Asian at the end of the day, you know. And instead of being an average between Western and Asian, it just did an addition, and it just added the two sizes together. I look like a dwarf from The Hobbit. Oh God, I look face off. I know, it's so bad. Another thing I've always wanted to do, because I've heard that this is fantastic, is The Walking Dead. The Telltale The Walking Dead. Never played it. I heard it's phenomenal. My friend in Australia, who I've known for my entire life, keeps telling me, bro, you have no idea how good that would be as stream content. It'd be amazing. So, I sat down, and I made some promo art for it. And that art, let's see, where is it? It's right there. Now, I think this is actually some of my finest work, to be honest. I feel it's got the comedy there, you know, like these are various faces I've made on stream throughout the years, and I think that they suit these zombies quite well, especially this one. That is just horrifying. But I also think that the faces for the dad and the daughter actually work in a weird way. There's something like, you know, this dad looks like he's ready to throw down. You stay the fuck away from my daughter. And the daughter, I feel like I've got, you know, the essence of the scared kid there as well. Oh my God. So again, I have no idea what The Walking Dead Telltale has to offer, but I hear it is a rollicking good time, and I would love to stream it. I feel like this would be really fucking fun. I feel like this would be excellent.